Chapter 510, New Mission, 1, Divine World. Above the Lin family's courtyard, Xiao Changtian brought the figure of Taoist Big Sun to the sky above the Lin family's courtyard. Looking at the Lin family courtyard below, Xiao Changtian said to the Great Sun Immortal slowly, "One, remember that Tian wants to establish a power together with the Lin updated on B0x0VL. Calm family in the divine realm. Perfected De Yang, let's go down." Xiao Changtian pointed at the Lin family's courtyard. After hearing Xiao Changshan's words, the Great Sun Immortal also looked down at the Lin family's courtyard. With a wave of his hand, the blanket under his feet flew towards the Lin family courtyard. Whoosh! Xiao Changtian and the Great Sun Immortal walked down from the blanket. Instead, he walked towards the Lin clan's courtyard. Xiao Changtian saw Tian, who was in the courtyard. She walked over and slowly said to him, "Tian, have you recovered? Why did you come here?" When Tian heard Xiao Changshan's words, he also turned his gaze towards the entrance of the courtyard. "Senior, I'm already fine." Xiao Changtian stared at Tian, who had already recovered a lot. Only then did he slowly nod his head. It seemed that the system had not deceived him. This supreme martial kick was indeed a treasure that could heal and save people, and bring the dead back to life. It was just that it could not be mass-produced. Otherwise, he could also make a fortune. When Lin Yuan saw Xiao Changtian coming to the Lin family courtyard, he cupped his fists at him. "Senior." Looking at Lin Yuan in front of him, Xiao Changtian also waved his hand. "Patriarch Lin, there's no need to be so polite." Then, Xiao Changtian pointed at Taoist De Yang behind him, and said to Tian and Lin Yuan, "This is the Great Sun Immortal. He bullied your divorce papers. The Great Sun Immortal will judge for you." Tian stared at Taoist De Yang, who was standing behind Xiao Changtian, as he smiled at him. "Thank you, Senior. Those cultivators have already escaped." Upon hearing Tian's voice, Xiao Changtian also sighed. It seemed that he was too late. He just didn't know if he could find their location. As he thought of this in his heart, Xiao Changtian patted Tian's shoulder and slowly spoke. "It's okay. We'll meet each other in the future." In the future, if Tian wanted to survive in the cultivation world, he would definitely have to come into contact with cultivators. He would definitely be able to find them again. When Tian heard Xiao Changshan's words, his body trembled. Senior was hinting to him that there were more than just a few cultivators. It seemed that he had to establish the divine court as soon as possible. However, his ability alone was limited. If there were many people, he might not be able to deal with them. As he thought of this in his heart, Tian also slowly spoke to Xiao Changtian. "Senior, do you have any suggestions for future development?" Xiao Changtian slowly spoke when he heard Tian's words. Difficult. Tian had just entered the cultivation world, and was already beaten half to death. If he continued to develop in the divine world, he did not know what kind of hardships he would have to experience. As for Tian, he was also a little pessimistic when he saw Xiao Changtian sighing. Looks like the days after the divine realm would probably not be peaceful anymore. Those cultivators are obviously still at the bottom. The truly powerful cultivators haven't made a move yet. Xiao Changtian stood at the side for a while as he slowly spoke to Tian. Tian had just entered the cultivation world. Naturally, he wouldn't encounter any particularly powerful cultivators. He had heard that there were unspoken rules in the immortal cultivation sect. Those who were powerful usually wouldn't attack small cultivators. It was just that if Tian wanted to develop in the cultivation world for a long time, it was only a matter of time before they met. This was a test of Tian's own strength. Even if he was immortal, he couldn't help him much. He only told him his own opinion. He still had to choose what to do after that. When Tian heard Xiao Changshan's words, his heart trembled. The Ren Yuan he saw today was not the strongest. There were existences stronger than them. Other than himself, no one else in the divine world could deal with Ren Yuan. If there were experts who could hold him back, the entire divine world. As he thought of this, Tian also clasped his fists towards Xiao Changtian. "Senior, please help me." The divine realm was their homeland. If there were any external enemies, Tian could only go all out to deal with them. When he saw Tian's expression, Xiao Changtian also pulled his arm and slowly spoke. "Tian, Do we still have to be like this between us? It's not like you don't know, I'm just a mortal. Ding dong. Before Xiao Changtian could finish his words, the system's voice that he hadn't heard for a long time sounded in his mind. Detected that the host has completed the Supreme Kick mission. The rewards are being distributed now. Please check and accept. Detected that there will be a great enemy invading the host's surroundings. Host, please help Dtion build a divine court and build a small nest for each animal. Mission completed. The host can now activate the path of invincibility. Xiao Changtian was a little excited as he listened to the series of notifications from the system. After such a long time, this stupid system finally responded. The road to invincibility. This stupid system finally gave him clear instructions. In other words, as long as he completed this mission, he could open the path of invincibility. Xiao Changtian was used to being a mortal in the cultivation world. However, when he heard the system mention the path to invincibility again, he was still a little excited. At this moment, Dtion's voice slowly entered Xiao Changshan's ears. Senior, is there a problem? Dtion stared at Xiao Changtian. He didn't dare to be sure if Xiao Changtian would be able to help him in this calamity. At this moment, Xiao Changshan's heart was filled with excitement. When he heard Dtion's words, he slowly returned to reality. Since the system wanted him to help Dtion establish the divine court, he had no other choice. Since this was the case, Xiao Changtian also slowly spoke to Dtion. How about this? I'll help you build your divine court. When Dtion heard Xiao Changshan's words, he felt some agitation immediately. He cupped his fists at Xiao Changtian and said excitedly, "Thank you, Senior." When Xiao Changtian saw how excited Dtion was, he also waved his hands at him. He was just a mortal, so he did not know what the situation in the cultivation world was like. The establishment of this force still needed to be planned properly. Dtion was also a cultivator, who had just entered the sect not long ago. Clearly, he did not know much about the cultivation world. Otherwise, why would he be beaten up? At this moment, the system's voice slowly sounded in Xiao Changshan's mind. Ding dong. The mission to help Dtion establish the divine court has been activated. Host, please find a foundation for the divine court. Hearing the system's voice, Xiao Changtian said to the system in his heart, System, is there any grade requirement for this force? Chapter 511, Site Selection, 1 Divine World. Lin family compound. The system was silent for a while after hearing Xiao Changshan's words. Then, he slowly transmitted his voice to Xiao Changtian. Ding dong. The mission does not have any requirements for the grade of the organization established by the host. Hearing the system's words, Xiao Changtian heaved a sigh of relief. Updated on B0x0VL. Fortunately, the system was still a little humane. It would not let him create a first-grade force or something. If he were to establish a rank 1 faction, wasn't he just making things difficult for him? How could a mere mortal like him fight against that group of immortal cultivators? As he thought of this in his heart, Xiao Changtian also came to Dtion's side and slowly spoke. Dtion, your first step of establishing a power is wrong. Upon hearing Xiao Changshan's words, Dtion was also somewhat dumbstruck. Somewhat confused, he slowly said to Xiao Changtian, Senior, please guide me. Xiao Changtian stared at Dtion before him, as he took a few steps forward. The key to establishing a force is to choose a location. A good place can also allow the sect to develop for a long time. What if you choose the right place? No matter how powerful this sect is, it won't last long. Isn't that so? This Dtion was obviously randomly choosing the address. This was definitely the area where the cultivators fought. Dtion wanted to choose a location here, which was why he was attacked by those cultivators. As for Dtion, when he heard Xiao Changshan's words, he also nodded his head in contemplation. Indeed, according to his previous plan, the divine court was planned to be in its original position. Now that so many years had passed, the entire divine world had also undergone many changes. It was indeed inappropriate to build a divine court in the original place. Moreover, although the spiritual energy in that place was dense, it was still not enough. However, with Senior's strength, he would definitely be able to find a better place in the divine world. It was rumored that some of the forbidden areas in the divine realm were actually a blessing if they were used well. Di Tian thought so in his heart. He then slowly spoke to Xiao Changtian. Then in Senior's opinion, where is the best place? Xiao Changtian coughed when he heard Di Tian's words. Well, why ask yourself? It must be those deep mountains and forests with no human habitation. There were definitely no cultivators there. Moreover, there were few people there, so it was not easy to attract any trouble. Thinking of this, Xiao Changtian slowly said, Of course it's in the forest where there are few people. Di Tian felt joy in his heart when he heard Xiao Changshan's words. It seemed that he had guessed correctly. Senior's goal was indeed the forbidden area in the divine world. After all, in the entire divine world, only the forbidden areas were worthy of the sparsely populated mountains and forests that Senior said. When he thought of this, Di Tian also slowly spoke to Xiao Changtian. Senior, leave it to me. I'll do it now. There were some forbidden areas in the divine world that even he had never been to before. Not for anything else, even if he was a peak god emperor in his previous life. However, there were still some places that made him feel a sense of danger and did not dare to step foot. However, now that his strength had increased greatly, Di Tian was extremely confident in finding a forbidden ground to use as the foundation of the divine court. When Xiao Changtian saw how excited Di Tian was, he also stretched out his hand to stop him. She slowly said to him, Di Tian, your injuries have just recovered. It's best for you to recuperate here. Let me handle the site selection. It wasn't that Xiao Changtian didn't want Di Tian to find the address, but he was truly worried. Firstly, Di Tian had just recovered from his injuries and needed to rest. Secondly, after this incident, Xiao Changtian didn't dare to let Di Tian find the address anymore. What if he went to the wrong place and was attacked by cultivators like this time? Xiao Changtian didn't have the ingredients to make another supreme kick. When Di Tian heard Xiao Changshan's words, he also slowly spoke. Senior, is this okay? Oh, go. It was already a great grace for him that Senior was willing to agree to help him establish the divine court. If Senior were to personally choose a location for him, he would also feel bad. Xiao Changtian stared at Di Tian before him as he pulled him back. Of course, listen to me. You just stay here and recuperate. Looking at Di Tian's current state, Xiao Changtian had a premonition that Di Tian would definitely not find a good place. Di Tian stared at Xiao Changtian, wanting to say something. Xiao Changshan's voice sounded again. Do you not believe me? When Di Tian heard Xiao Changshan's words, he hurriedly spoke. No, Senior, how could that be? Then let's do it this way. It's settled. I'll go and choose the site. This time around, Xiao Changtian didn't give Di Tian the chance to speak. After his voice sounded, he slowly said to Lin Yuan by the side. Clan head Lin, the Emperor Heaven has just recovered. I need you to take care of it. After the faction is established, you guys can move in together. Xiao Changtian knew that the Lin family and the divine court were allies. In this way, it was quite good to move in after it was built. When Lin Yuan heard Xiao Changshan's words, he was overwhelmed by the unexpected favor. He spoke to Xiao Changtian with excitement. Thank you, Senior. It wasn't that he hadn't seen Di Tian's strength. He had only left for a few days. Then he came back to kill those grandmasters. Lin Yuan understood that this definitely had something to do with Xiao Changtian. If he could build a good relationship with Xiao Changtian, he would be able to hug Xiao Changshan's thigh when he moved in. Their Lin family might really be able to soar. Then, Xiao Changtian left the Lin family's courtyard with Taoist De Yang and the rest. Now, he had to go back and make some preparations. He was preparing to choose a location in the divine world. After leaving the Lin family, Xiao Changtian slowly said to the Great Sun Immortal, Taoist Big Sun, do you have a map of the divine world? Hearing Xiao Changshan's words, the Great Sun Immortal also searched his body. He took out a piece of parchment from his pocket and handed it to Xiao Changtian. Senior. Xiao Changtian slowly took the parchment from the Great Sun Immortal and said to him, Taoist Big Sun, let's go back first. With the map, he should be able to set off after he returned to the courtyard to plan. When the Great Sun Immortal heard Xiao Changshan's words, he waved his hand. A blanket appeared in front of Xiao Changtian and the great sun immortal. Xiao Changtian slowly walked onto the blanket, and then the great sun immortal brought him to the great sun town. On the blanket, Xiao Changtian said to the great sun immortal slowly, "Perfected Daong, do you have any intention of joining the power Di Tian established?" And no matter what Perfected De Yong was an expert, it was unknown if he would look down on the small factions of the heavens. The great sun immortal was controlling the blanket. He was excited when he heard Xiao Changshan's words. Was this senior inviting him? Xiao Changtian saw that the great sun immortal didn't say anything, so he said to him, "Perfected De Yong, if you're unwilling, you don't have to force it." Chapter 512. Shocking Change in the Heavenly Gates. 1. Divine Realm in Midair. Standing on the blanket, the great sun immortal nodded at Xiao Changtian. "Senior, I'm willing to join." What a joke! The opportunity to hug someone's thigh was right in front of him. Unless his brain was cramped, how could he refuse? Updated on B0X0VL. Calm. When they were in the Lin clan's courtyard, Daoist Daong heard that Xiao Changtian wanted to help Di Tian establish his own power. He was very shocked. This senior had stayed in the courtyard for so long, and finally made a move. However, the great sun immortal also knew his own strength. His strength was low, and senior had taken care of him in Daong Town. It was already a great favor to him. How could he dare to have any thoughts about the power that senior wanted to establish? He did not expect senior to ask him personally. It seemed that senior valued him very much. With this thought in mind, the great sun immortal looked at Xiao Changtian with gratitude in his eyes. He said slowly to Xiao Changtian, "Senior, can I?" Xiao Changtian looked at the great sun immortal and said with a smile, "Of course. Don't worry. When the time comes, the construction will definitely listen to your suggestions." Xiao Changtian also knew what the great sun immortal was worried about. A cultivator like the great sun immortal must be worried about his position in the faction. After all, cultivators like them would definitely be treated like ancestors in other sections. If they came to his place and did not receive any good treatment, it would not make sense. Xiao Changtian was originally worried that Daoist Big Sun would not be willing to come. As long as he was willing to come, with the great sun immortal's character, it did not matter if he had a little more status and words in the divine court. More importantly, with Perfected De Yong, the other cultivators would not casually attack the divine court. When the great sun immortal heard that Xiao Changtian would need to listen to his suggestions, he immediately said, "She was even more touched." Since this senior valued him so much, he had to work hard in the future. As the blanket flew, the great sun immortal and the others slowly arrived at Great Sun Town. When they returned to the Great Sun Town, Xiao Changtian said to the Great Sun Jinren, "Great Sun Immortal, thank you so much for this. I'll come and find you when I find the address." Even though the Great Sun Immortal didn't provide any substantial help this time. However, it was enough for him that the Great Sun Immortal was willing to help a mortal like him. When the Great Sun Immortal heard Xiao Changshan's words, he nodded at him. "Senior, I'll go back first." Looking at the way the great sun immortal walked in the air, Xiao Changtian sighed in his heart. He would be able to fly in the sky one day. The path of invincibility, here I come. With this thought in mind, Xiao Changtian was full of energy as he walked towards his courtyard. In the Lin family courtyard, after Xiao Changtian left, Di Tian brought the 10 great generals of the divine court to help the Lin family restore their former glory. The entire Lin family was treated and buried. At this moment, Di Tian also slowly spoke to Lin Yuan. "Master Lin, we'll be working together in the future, so we'll have to trouble you to take care of us." When Lin Yuan heard Di Tian's words, he also waved his book at him. "No, you should be the one taking care of me." After that, Di Tian continued. "Senior went out to choose a site. We also prepared ourselves, and were ready to cooperate with Senior at any time." When Lin Yuan heard Di Tian's words, he also recalled something. "I remember a place that has some high-quality fertile soil. Why don't we go and get it?" Since Senior wants to establish a force, he naturally needs all kinds of materials. Lin Yuan also wanted to get them over as soon as possible. When Di Tian heard Lin Yuan's words, he also nodded his head in delight. Di Di Tian also knew that Lin Yuan and the others had come from outside the divine realm. All along, the people of the divine realm had thought that the outside of the divine realm was an endless void filled with danger. However, he never found any life forms outside the divine realm. Now that his strength had increased, Di Tian also wanted to go out and take a look at what was outside the divine realm. After that, Lin Yuan stared at Di Tian before him as he awkwardly spoke. I might have to trouble you to take me there. Previously, they had come to the divine world to find their ancestral land, mainly because they had borrowed the divine artifact given by the Heaven Gate. It was just that when the Divine Eye human origin and the others attacked the Lin family's courtyard, the Divine Eye also took away all the useful spirit artifacts and divine artifacts of the Lin family. Staring at Lin Yuan's expression, Di Tian also smiled at him. She placed her hand on his shoulder and brought him out of the Lin family courtyard. At the same time, in the main hall of the Heavenly Gates, the Divine Eye was currently standing in the main hall of the Heaven's Gate. It looked at the Heaven's Gate Master above and slowly said to him, Sect Master, the mission failed. A powerful Di Tian has appeared in the divine realm. Milords, all of you died at his hands. As he spoke, the Divine Eye was also a little afraid. When Ren Yuan and Di Yuan were killed by Di Tian, he was watching from the Lin family courtyard. After seeing Ten Zhen and the others attack, they did not immediately succeed. The Divine Eye immediately used the various spatial artifacts it had plundered from the Lin family courtyard and left. Above the Heaven's Gate Hall, the Heaven's Gate Sect Master looked at the Divine Eye below and said in disbelief, Divine Eye, what are you saying? Ren Yuan and the others were human immortals like him. Moreover, Di Yuan and Tian Yuan were even stronger than him. How could the Heaven's Gate Sect Master believe that these people were killed in the divine realm? If the divine world had such powerful strength, then their Heaven's Gate would still be able to collect providence for hundreds of years. Sect Master, it's true. Why would I lie to you about such things? The Divine Eye looked at the Heaven's Gate Sect Master, who was walking down from above, and said slowly to him. The Heaven's Gate Sect Master walked to the Divine Eye's side and paced back and forth around him. These people died here for no reason. How was he going to explain this to the people from beyond Avalon, who would believe that a few people had died on the side of the divine realm? Perhaps their Elysium was facing a calamity that would wipe out their entire sect. After many years of dealing with the human realm upon heavens, the Heaven's Gate Sect Master knew their methods. This is good. Divine Eye, tell me. Just as the Heaven's Gate Sect Master was about to say something to the Divine Eye, a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Looking at the Divine Eye in front of him, his eyes were filled with disbelief. Divine Eye, you. Sect Master, don't blame me. I was just trying to protect myself. Someone died in the human realm upon heavens. There has to be an explanation, and you are the best explanation. The Divine Eye looked at the Heaven's Gate Sect Master in front of him expressionlessly. A palm had already pierced through his stomach. Chapter 513. Spirit Race, Cold Charm, 1. Outside the Divine Realm, the Heavenly Gate Hall. The Divine Eye's hand slowly came out from the stomach of the Heaven's Gate Sect Master. Looking at the Heaven's Gate Sect Master in front of him, the Divine Eye also revealed a smile. Then, he looked at his blood-stained hands and did not look at the door. Bang! The body of the Heaven's Gate Sect Master slowly fell to the ground. Updated on B0X0VL. At the same time, outside the Divine Gate, a powerful aura flew over from outside. Bang! In the sky above the Gate of Heaven, a woman emitting a powerful aura slowly appeared. The woman was dressed in blue, and her long hair was casually placed behind. Following that, the woman's ethereal voice slowly sounded throughout the entire Gate of Heaven. Who is in charge of your Elysium? Come out. Boom, boom, boom. As soon as the woman finished speaking, the entire hall in the Gate of Heaven trembled. Countless Heavenly Gates elders flew into the sky from their palaces. He wanted to get angry, but when he saw the woman's clothes in the air, he obediently shut his mouth. At this moment, the Heaven's Gate elders also looked towards the Heaven's Gate Hall. After the Heavenly Gates was attacked by the White Tiger the last time, the elders in the Heavenly Gates went into seclusion to recuperate. Moreover, they could not pry into the main hall of Heaven's Gate on normal days. For a moment, the elders looked at each other and waited for the Heaven's Gate sect master to come out. After a while, everyone saw the door of the main hall of Heaven's Gate slowly open. Then, the figure of the Divine Eye appeared in front of everyone. Seeing the Divine Eye, the woman in the air slowly said to him, "Are you the sect master of the Heaven's Gate?" Looking at the beautiful woman in the sky, the Divine Eyes also cupped their fists at him. "Lord of the spiritual race, I am not." Hearing the Divine Eye's words, the woman snorted coldly. The spiritual race was a powerful race in the human realm upon Heaven's Gate, and the others were also a subordinate force that was dependent on the spiritual race. She came to the Divine Gate this time because she sensed that her subordinate's soul jade pendant was broken. It would be fine if he died in the human realm upon Heavens. But Tianyuan and the others told him that they were going to a lower realm. Dying in the lower realm, this could not help but make one ponder. Then the woman slowly said to the Divine Eye below, "Your sect leader, the gecko, wouldn't want me to invite him out, right?" As she spoke, a trace of icy blue light lit up in the woman's hand. The main hall of the Heaven's Gate also began to be covered by layers of ice. Seeing the situation in the heavenly gates, those heavenly gates elders were also a little frightened. He said to the Divine Eye below, "Divine Eye, where's the sect master? Hurry up and ask the sect master to come out." The Divine Eye listened to the words of the Heaven Gate elders and slowly said to the woman in the sky, "My lord, it's not that the sect master doesn't want to come out, but unfortunately, the sect master is already dead." What was that? The words of the Divine Eye are like a huge boulder thrown into the calm lake of the Heavenly Gate. The group of Heavenly Gate's elders looked at each other and said to the Divine Eye, "Divine Eye, what did you say? The sect master is dead. How did he die? Who is the murderer? Have you found him?" The woman looked at the chattering voices in the air and also looked at the Divine Eye below. Seeing that the woman did not speak, the Divine Eye continued, "A few days ago, a few emissaries from the spiritual race came to the Heavenly Gates to investigate the White Tiger incident in the Divine Realm. After that, the few of you went to the Divine World. The sect master saw that the few of you did not return for a long time. I went to investigate, but there was no reply. Later, I also felt that something was amiss, so I wanted to go over and take a look. In the end, I only found the sect master's corpse. My lords, we don't know where you are." When the Divine Eye spoke, it was also sincere, and its body was even bowed. When the elders of the Elysium heard the Divine Eye's words, their faces became even more puzzled. The Divine World. Wasn't that the world they were in previously? With that world's luck, it was impossible to reach the immortal realm. At this moment, the woman in the air laughed. "Do you think you'll believe you?" As the woman spoke, layers of ice began to appear under the feet of the Divine Eye. The Divine Eye did not resist. It looked at the woman in the sky and slowly said, "Whether it is true or not, my lord will know once you go." Seeing that the Divine Eye was neither servile nor overbearing, the woman waved her hand. Then, the layer of ice on the Divine Eye's foot was completely dissolved. "I'll believe you for now. I want to see what the truth is." The woman suddenly felt that the situation had become very interesting. First, the legendary White Tiger appeared in the Divine World. Following that, a powerhouse who had reached the celestial realm appeared in the Divine World. Moreover, he was stronger than Tianyuan and the others. Wasn't this nonsense? When the Divine Eye heard the woman's words, it also slowly said to the woman, "Sir, that emperor is very powerful. I hope that sir can make some preparations." The scene of Di Tian killing Tian Yuan, Di Yuan, and Ren Yuan with a single finger was still fresh in his mind. At this moment he reminded the woman. When the woman heard the Divine Eye's words, she laughed out loud. "I, Lung Mei, am in a lower realm. Do I still need to be afraid? With your strength, you have yet to meet a true expert. Take me there. Or are you worried about something?" When she spoke, Lung Mei's face also carried a meaningful smile. When the Divine Eye heard Lung Mei's words, it did not say anything else either. Then, he brought Lung Mei and flew towards the Divine World. After Divine Eye and Lung Mei left, those Heaven's Gate elders also came to the Heaven's Gate main hall. Looking at the Heaven's Gate sect master in the hall, they were all shocked. For a time, the heavenly gates also began to fight openly and covertly. At the same time in Daong Town, Xiao Changtian took the map given by Taoist Master Yang and placed it on the stone table in the backyard. Looking at the crosses on the map, Xiao Changtian said to Mu Jiehuang, "Jiuer, what do you think of these places?" Xiao Changtian also knew that Mu Jiehuang's family was also very wealthy. Staying in the Golden Palace might give him some good advice. Mu Jiehuang also walked over slowly when he heard Xiao Changshan's words. Seeing the crosses on Xiao Changshan's map, he shook his head. "Senior, there are very few people in these places." The few places that Xiao Changtian drew were all forbidden areas in the divine world. They were all in various forests and mountains, and there were very few people. Xiao Changtian heard Mu Jiehuang's words and looked at the crosses on the map. He was also very happy and kept the map. Next, he would listen to the advice of the great Sun Immortal and then do a field trip. Thinking of this, Xiao Changtian immediately went into action. Chapter 514. Invite Young Master to board the ship. 1. Tianyuan Continent, Daong Town. Xiao Changtian had already carried his bamboo basket and placed the black tortoise in his basket. "I'll bring you along this time." Thinking that the old turtle had become much more obedient recently, Xiao Changtian also wanted to take it out for a walk. Updated on Bizoroxinzero VL. And at this time, the fat Rongrong also slowly walked over. Looking at the fat Rongrong beside him, Xiao Changtian smiled and said, "Let's go together." This Rongrong was the closest to this old turtle. Xiao Changtian also knew. After he left the door, he saw Taoist Big Sun waiting for him. Xiao Changtian waved his hand at the great Sun Immortal and slowly walked over. "Perfected Deyang, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting." After the plan was made, Xiao Changtian also invited the great Sun Immortal to go and inspect the place. Firstly, this immortal Deyang was powerful and could protect him. Secondly, this immortal Deyang was also very knowledgeable. There were many things in the cultivation world that he did not know. With him by her side, she could also ask for advice. When the great Sun Immortal saw Xiao Changtian, he nodded at him. Arriving at the great Sun Immortal, Xiao Changtian took out the map from his pocket. "Taoist Big Sun, take a look. Are there any problems with these places?" The great Sun Immortal looked at the map handed over by Xiao Changtian and opened it in his hand. "Senior, the paintings are all about forbidden areas." However, thinking about it, it made sense. Only a place like the forbidden area was worthy of the identity of a senior. With this thought in mind, the great Sun Immortal nodded to Xiao Changtian. Xiao Changtian looked at the great Sun Immortal and nodded. He was also delighted. It seemed that these places were indeed not bad. Then, Xiao Changtian continued to speak to the great Sun Immortal. "In that case, Taoist Master Daong, let's go on a field trip one by one. Let's start with this. What do you think?" While speaking, Xiao Changtian also pointed at a cross on the map. When the great Sun Immortal heard Xiao Changshan's words, he didn't hesitate. "I'll listen to Senior." Then he waved his hand, and a red blanket appeared in front of him, and Xiao Changtian, and the great Sun Immortal stood on it, and flew toward the divine realm. After a while, Taoist Yang brought Xiao Changtian to a small town. According to Xiao Changshan's instructions, the first forbidden area they were going to was the 100,000 Mountains. Regarding this place, the great Sun Immortal's understanding of him was relatively limited. It was said that no one who entered the 100,000 Mountains had ever come out. Therefore, the great Sun Immortal brought Xiao Changtian to a nearby town. Xiao Changtian walked down from the blanket and walked around. He sighed. "Taoist Big Sun, there are indeed fewer people here." This place was indeed relatively simple. There were not many guards with swords in the entire town. When the great Sun Immortal heard Xiao Changshan's words, he also nodded. Indeed, this town was relatively desolate. Almost all the people walking on it were mortals. After all, the reputation of the 100,000 Mountains was well known. At this moment, Xiao Changtian also saw the crowd gathering. Looking at the lively scene in front of him, Xiao Changtian also walked over with the great Sun Immortal. "Taoist Big Sun, let's go over and take a look." If he wanted to establish a force here, it would be better for him to understand the local customs as soon as possible. Xiao Changtian and the Great Sun Immortal also squeezed their way out of the crowd. Good, good. All right. At this moment, Xiao Changtian was surrounded by cheers. Xiao Changtian looked in front of him. In front of them was a stream, and there was a flower boat on the stream. Everyone cheered as they listened to the music coming from the boat. At this time, Xiao Changtian said to someone beside him, "Fellow Taoist, what kind of event is this?" When the man heard Xiao Changshan's words, he also slowly introduced him. "You must be from somewhere else. You don't understand. This is the 100,000 Mountains. It's rumored that ferocious beasts run amok there. The people who went in never came out, but there are exceptions. As long as you have experienced the blessings of the fairies on this boat, the chances of you staying here safely are very high." As he spoke, the man watched the flower boat in front of him pass by and waved it at him. "All right, I won't talk to you anymore. The flower fairy is here. Flower fairy, please give us your blessings. Flower fairy, we are all good citizens. Please give us your blessings." Hearing the shouts around him, Xiao Changtian slowly understood. This flower boat was most likely a local religion. I thought I could pray for blessings or something. This was understandable. After all, it was a place with few people. The resources and environment would be relatively harsh. Without a solution, it was understandable to beg the gods. As for this harsh environment, it should be simple for cultivators like Taoist Great Sunday. A casual spell could change the entire environment. While Xiao Changtian was deep in thought, a ball of flowers slowly came into his hand. Xiao Changtian looked at the embroidered ball that suddenly appeared in his hand. He was also a little confused. When did this land in his hands? At this moment, the people standing beside Xiao Changtian looked at him with envy. Xiao Changtian had obtained the embroidered ball. What did this mean? It meant that Xiao Changtian had a chance to receive the blessing of the fairy. At this moment, a veiled maid stopped her bamboo pole on the boat. He said slowly to Xiao Changtian, "You are the fated person chosen by the flower fairy. Young master, please board the ship and receive the fairy's blessings." Blessing? Xiao Changtian was also a little stunned when he heard the maid's words. He was just here to watch the show, and did not say that he wanted to participate. Why did he suddenly want to give her a blessing? At this moment, Xiao Changtian also glanced at the Great Sun Immortal behind him. The Great Sun Immortal felt Xiao Changshan's gaze, but he didn't respond. With his strength, he could not see what was on the flower boat at all. He could sense that there seemed to be an energy barrier on the boat, preventing him from probing. Seeing that the Great Sun Immortal had no suggestions, Xiao Changtian also took down his bamboo basket. He handed it to the Great Sun Immortal and said to him slowly, "Taoist Big Sun, hold it for me first. I'll be right back." Since he was considering building a force here, it was naturally better not to cause trouble. Anyway, it might be beneficial for him to give his blessings. Chapter 5:15. Young Master, can you play a song? 1 degrees, Divine Realm. A small town outside the 100,000 Mountains, Xiao Changtian handed his bamboo basket to the Great Sun Immortal and slowly walked into the boat. The Great Sun Immortal took the bamboo basket from Xiao Changtian, and a voice sounded in his mind. "Taoist Big Sun, let's go to the 100,000 Mountains and take a look. It's not appropriate for us to stay here, Master." When the Great Sun Immortal heard this voice, he was also stunned as he looked at the bamboo basket in his hand. Updated on B0X and 0VL. Calm then, he saw Black Tortoise slowly climb out. The Great Sun Immortal wanted to say something, but he saw a green light flash on the Black Tortoise's body. Then, the Black Tortoise and the Great Sun Immortal disappeared from where they were. The Black Tortoise brought the Great Sun Immortal to an empty alley. Then he slowly climbed out of the bamboo basket. When Xiao Changtian carried it on his back, Black Tortoise didn't dare to come out of Xiao Changshan's basket. After all, it wasn't easy for him to gain Xiao Changshan's favor. Master had just felt that he was obedient and brought him out. If he were to mess around, wouldn't he be easily locked up in a small black room? When Xiao Changtian handed the bamboo basket to the Great Sun Immortal, Black Tortoise knew that his chance had come. Senior Black Tortoise, what are you doing? The great sun immortal looked at the black tortoise in front of him and said slowly to him. Then, before Black Tortoise could respond, the great sun immortal saw Xiao Changshan's bamboo basket shake. Next, the fat Rongrong's figure appeared in front of Daoist Big Sunday, and finally out. The fat Rongrong also slowly climbed out of the bamboo basket, her mouth slowly saying. Inside the bamboo basket, the fat Rongrong had been facing swords and sabers. Those were all personally forged by Xiao Changtian. He didn't even dare to think about them, let alone eat them. Fatty Rongrong, what are you doing? Daoist Big Sun saw Fatty Rongrong come out and asked him with some doubt. And at this time, Black Tortoise had already slowly climbed onto the fat Rongrong's head. Looking at Daoist Big Sun opposite him, the fat Rongrong also slowly said to him, Daoist Big Sun, I have a favor to ask of you. When the great sun immortal heard Black Tortoise's words, he panicked and said to Black Tortoise, Senior Black Tortoise, tell me. What kind of strength did Senior Black Tortoise have? He actually wanted to ask for help from him. That master is on the boat. When master comes down, let us know. We'll be back immediately. As he spoke, Black Tortoise also came to the side of the great sun immortal and patted his shoulder. At this moment, how could the great sun immortal dare to refuse anything? He could only hurriedly say, Senior Black Tortoise, what are you going to do? If Senior asks, I can explain myself. Hearing the words of the great sun immortal, the Black Tortoise immediately became anxious. Perfected De Yong, you must not tell master that we left, understand? Also, if that master asks, tell him that we didn't leave. When the great sun immortal heard the Black Tortoise's words, he nodded his head, as if he understood something. After thinking about it, he still said to Black Tortoise worriedly, Senior Black Tortoise, where are you going? The Black Tortoise's body also flew into the air with the fat Rongrong after being told this by Daoist Big Sunday. Master wants to go to the flower boat to see the beauty. So this Sea King naturally goes to find the beauty. Fatty, let's go. Alright, boss. While speaking, the Black Tortoise fat Rongrong's figure also disappeared from the world. The great sun immortal looked at the direction where the Black Tortoise had left, and quickly picked up the bamboo basket on the ground. Walking towards the stream where the flower boat was just now. At this moment, Xiao Changtian slowly walked onto the boat under the lead of a maid. Looking at the ship in front of him, Xiao Changtian was a little surprised. It was fine that the people on this ship were all women. These women were all covered with veils. From the looks of it, they looked as if they could not be seen. Young master, the flower fairy is right ahead. Xiao Changtian nodded at him when he heard the maid's words. Then he looked at the cabin in front of him. Standing there, Xiao Changtian could clearly hear the music coming from inside. This zither sound is a little too rough. Xiao Changtian, who was waiting outside, said casually. As soon as Xiao Changtian finished speaking, he felt the music in the cabin stop. Then a voice entered his ears. How dare you say such things about the fairy's zither? At the same time, the maid from earlier also walked out. He looked at Xiao Changtian angrily. Xiao Changtian didn't expect that his casual words would make him so angry. Then he waved at them. Miss, calm down, calm down. I'm just telling the truth. When the maid heard Xiao Changshan's words, she felt relieved. When he heard the truth, he was furious. What did you say? Just as the maid was about to say something, a voice came from the cabin. Chuier, don't be unreasonable. Let me talk to this young master. The flower fairy's voice slowly came from inside. Originally, she also wanted to give Xiao Changtian a blessing, but she didn't expect to encounter such a thing. Young master said that my zither music is rough. I wonder if young master's zither skills are good enough to come in and play a song. The flower fairy's voice was also very pleasant, giving people a feeling of being bathed in the spring breeze. At this moment, the maids looked at Xiao Changtian provocatively. Since this person said that the fairy's zither skills were not good, then how about playing it yourself? Xiao Changtian felt the gaze of the maid in front of him. Then he slowly said to the figure inside, since that's the case, I'll make a fool of myself. This girl's playing was indeed a little rough. However, he had received special training from the system, so he could at least play it. Moreover, looking at this girl's appearance, It was obvious that she would not let him go if he did not understand. Hearing Xiao Changshan's agreement, Miss Chui also made an inviting gesture to Xiao Changtian. Then, Xiao Changtian slowly entered the cabin under her lead. When they arrived at the cabin, they were greeted by a faint fragrance. Following that, Xiao Changtian saw a curtain. Behind the curtain, there was a vague figure sitting there. "Young master, do you want to come over and play the zither?" Without seeing the woman's face, the pleasant voice sounded again. Xiao Changtian smiled at the screen when he heard the voice. "No need. Young lady just needs to push the zither out and I will play the zither here." Chapter 516. Are these people crazy? Divine Realm. On the flower boat, Xiao Changtian sat in the cabin, looking at the zither in front of him. He placed both hands on the zither and gently stroked it from left to right. The zither also produced a sound. Then he began to pluck the zither with both hands. Updated on Bezroxn0VL. Com bang, bang, bang. As Xiao Changshan's hands danced, the zither began to make a pleasant sound. In the cabin, Chui wanted to mock Xiao Changtian, but she couldn't say it. Could it be that this kid really knew how to play the zither? Chui placed her hand on her chin and stared at Xiao Changtian in the cabin. Outside the flower boat, the audience on both sides looked at the flower boat in front of them and heard the zither music inside. There were also waves of cheers. Fairy played the zither. It seems that she is blessing that person just now. That kid is really lucky to be blessed by the fairy. The audience on both sides of the stream looked at the flower boats with envy in their voices. Through the curtain, the flower fairy couldn't see Xiao Changshan's face. Hearing Xiao Changshan's music, the flower fairy was stunned. It wasn't that Xiao Changshan's playing was bad, but that his zither music was too good. While feeling shocked, the flower fairy slowly drew her fingers across her eyes, and some true essence surged through them. Then, the curtain in front of her was like nothingness to her. Seeing Xiao Changshan's appearance, the flower fairy also observed his fingers. Looking at the movements of his fingers, he didn't look like a rough man at all. She looked like a delicate and agile woman with exquisite hands. As time passed, the sound of the zither also fluctuated. The audience on both sides of the stream listened to Xiao Changshan's music. They had stopped cheering and were quietly listening to Xiao Changshan's performance. In their eyes, this was not a zither sound at all, but an art. Under the cleansing of the zither music, they felt that their bodies and mental energy were much better than before. At this moment, the music of the zither suddenly became high. Everyone present felt a murderous intent. It was as if a supreme expert was neither servile nor overbearing in the face of heavy encirclement, bravely killing the enemy. In the end, the zither music stopped abruptly amidst the high-pitched sound of the zither. What followed was a sense of sadness and regret. Everyone was listening to Xiao Changshan's zither music. Even until the zither music ended, they still didn't react. They could feel the zither music as they lived outside the 100,000 mountains. Weren't they worried about all kinds of dangers every day and constantly fighting with them? Finally, the solemn and sorrowful sound of the zither entered everyone's hearts. As expected, Fairy understands us and understands us. This must be the reason why the fairy gave us her blessings. The fairy is simply a living bodhisattva. After a while, the spectators on both sides of the stream muttered. Meanwhile, inside the flower boat, Chui was already speechless. At first, she thought that he didn't know how to play the zither. When she first started playing the zither, she thought Xiao Changtian only knew a few tricks. Now, she realized that she was completely wrong. Yes, it was a huge mistake. Perhaps to the mortals outside, this zither music was only used to cleanse their souls. However, as an immortal cultivator who majored in the zither, Chui understood what Xiao Changshan's performance meant. Just based on the song just now, the man sitting in front of her was at least a master. The flower fairy herself felt it even more clearly. Xiao Changshan's zither music was unprecedentedly powerful. The flower fairy felt that she had gained a new understanding of the zither. Xiao Changtian slowly raised his hands and pushed the zither back. To be honest, Xiao Changtian wasn't very satisfied with his zither skills. At the very least, the song that he had just played would definitely not pass the system's training. This was not entirely his fault. After all, In Xiao Changshan's eyes, this zither was a little lacking. It was even worse than the one he made in the courtyard. However, this was understandable. After all, this place was quite poor. It was already not easy for these people to get such a zither. While Xiao Changtian was thinking, the curtain between him and the flower fairy was slowly pushed open. The curtain was pushed open, and Xiao Changtian saw a fresh and refined woman. The flower fairy's long hair was casually draped over her shoulders, and she was wearing a pink-white dress. At this moment, her eyes were also staring at him. Xiao Changtian felt uncomfortable being stared at by the flower fairy. Then he slowly said to her, "Fairy, is there a problem?" He had said what he should have said just now, and he had also played what he should have played. What did this woman mean by staring at him like that? When the flower fairy heard Xiao Changshan's words, she also stood up from her seat. He walked to Xiao Changshan's side and bowed slightly. "Thank you for your guidance, young master." Xiao Changtian saw the flower fairy's expression and quickly walked over to help her up. "I don't dare to teach you. I just casually flicked my finger." The flower fairy's skin was fragile, and when Xiao Changtian touched her arm, he felt a strange feeling. This woman was wearing a veil, and her skin was exceptionally good. Could it be that he had contracted some illness? With this thought in mind, Xiao Changtian also looked at the other women in the cabin. These women were all wearing veils, and their skin was exceptionally fair under the sunlight. Based on the medical knowledge he obtained from the system, this group of people was very likely to be sick. While Xiao Changtian was deep in thought, Chui'er also brought a few maids. He placed a table between Xiao Changtian and Flower Fairy. Then, Chui'er glanced at the maids behind her, and those women left the cabin. For a moment, there was only the Flower Fairy and Xiao Changtian in the cabin, and Chui'er, who was pouring tea for them. "Young master, why is this happening?" Xiao Changtian took the wine cup from Chui'er and took a sip. Then he slowly said to the Flower Fairy, "I want to go to the 100,000 mountains ahead." Xiao Changtian was also telling the truth. After all, if he really established his power there in the future, he would be able to do it. No matter what, he had to deal with the people in this small town. The Flower Fairy smiled when she heard Xiao Changshan's words. Obviously, Xiao Changshan's answer was within her expectations. After all, a powerful like Xiao Changtian could only come here to explore the 100,000 mountains. The Flower Fairy also drank a mouthful of tea with Xiao Changtian. Then, she said to Xiao Changtian, "Then why is young master going to the 100,000 mountains?" Chapter 517. Taking off the veil, 1 Divine Realm. Flower Fairy's flower boat. Xiao Changtian sighed when he heard the Flower Fairy's words. Seeing Xiao Changtian sigh, the Flower Fairy was also concerned. "Young master, could it be that there is something difficult to say? Then this servant will not inquire further." The Flower Fairy also knew about experts like Xiao Changtian. Updated on B0x0VL. He didn't want others to know about the matter. If he asked, it would be a waste of time, and he would also make others unhappy. Xiao Changtian took a sip of tea and said to the Flower Fairy, "It's not a special reason. I came to the 100,000 mountains to find a place to stay, to avoid the dangers outside." If he wanted to establish his power in those densely populated areas, Ditian would be a lesson for him. When the Flower Fairy heard Xiao Changshan's words, she was moved. To avoid the dangers outside, could this person be like him? In order to avoid the pressure from his family, he came to the 100,000 mountains to hide from the limelight. After all, the 100,000 mountains was known as a forbidden area. No one dared to come here. As she thought about this, the Flower Fairy slowly said to Xiao Changtian, "Young master, I won't hide it from you. I'm the same as you. I came here to avoid danger." Xiao Changtian nodded his head when he heard the Flower Fairy's words. Thinking about it, he could understand why they were going to stand on the sidelines. He had just thought that these women were sick. Their faces were covered with gauze, and their skin was abnormally fair. If one person was like this, it was fine. But a group of people were like this. He must be sick, and it was an infectious disease. Then, many people tried to capture her, wanting to conduct experiments on her. Otherwise, there was no need to hide on this flower boat. With this thought in mind, Xiao Changtian slowly said to the flower fairy. Young lady, may I show you my face? He had just arrived, so he would do whatever he could to form a good relationship. Moreover, it was the mission of a doctor to save the world. The flower fairy was stunned when she heard Xiao Changshan's words. Xiao Changtian saw the shy look on the flower fairy's face and said slowly, Give me your hand. I can do it through the gauze. The flower fairy was a woman, but she was found to have an infectious disease. It was normal for her to panic. When the flower fairy heard Xiao Changshan's words, her face turned red. Senior, what are you doing? He looked at Xiao Changtian, who was handsome and skilled in playing the zither. It was so similar to his own situation. Could this be an arrangement from the heavens? The flower fairy thought so and felt a little happy. The reason why she was hiding from her family was that her family wanted to marry her to the young master of another family. The flower fairy didn't want to become a sacrifice for her family, so she fled to the 100,000 mountains alone. And here, she met such a handsome and talented man. Was this fate? While the flower fairy was deep in thought, Xiao Changtian said to her slowly, Miss, if it's not convenient then forget it. If the lady was unwilling, he would not force her. After all, he had to consider the other party's intentions when it came to treatment. When the flower fairy heard Xiao Changshan's words, her expression became firm. He said slowly to Xiao Changtian, Senior, I am willing. As she spoke, the flower fairy took off her veil. The veil was removed, revealing the exquisite face hidden under the veil. Xiao Changtian looked at the flower fairy in front of him, who was smiling sweetly at him. His hands were already placed in front of him. At the same time, if what he said was true, he would put the veil on his wrist. After the flower fairy took off her veil, Chuier, who was at the side, exclaimed, Miss, in her family, all women wore veils before they got married. Once it was their wedding day, they would take off their veils. I will show my best face to my beloved. And the flower fairy was actually standing on the side of a man without much contact. Taking off her veil, the shock in Chuier's heart could be imagined. At this moment, Xiao Changtian looked at the flower fairy and said slowly, Miss, one hand is enough. Oh! Flower fairy heard Xiao Changtian words. Also humph a sound, will oneself a arm back. Then, Xiao Changtian slowly placed his arm on the flower fairy's wrist. He could feel the change in the flower fairy's aura. This girl had too much yin qi. This was Xiao Changshan's first conclusion after investigating. Xiao Changtian slowly removed his arm from the flower fairy's wrist. Miss, I see that the yin qi in your body is too heavy. When I get out, I'll give you a prescription. Chuier heard Xiao Changshan's words and looked at him strangely. Could this person be a medical master? Their clan had too much yin qi, which was caused by the cultivation techniques that their clan had cultivated for hundreds of years. Ordinary doctors could not tell their condition at all. How could Xiao Changtian know everything just by taking his pulse? When the flower fairy heard Xiao Changshan's words, she was delighted. I will listen to young master. Young master was concerned about him. It seemed that he had made the right decision to come to the 100,000 mountains. When Xiao Changtian heard the flower fairy's words, he slowly stood up and walked out. Seeing Xiao Changtian leaving, the flower fairy said slowly, Young master, what are your plans? If we go to the 100,000 mountains, then I am quite familiar with the 100,000 mountains and can lead you around. Xiao Changtian turned around and smiled at the flower fairy. Then he'll have to trouble young lady. He was going out just now to get his bamboo basket from the great sun immortal. These girls' illnesses must be treated as soon as possible. As for the flower fairy's willingness to follow him to the 100,000 mountains, it was a completely unexpected gain. With a person familiar with the 100,000 mountains to bring him along, it would save him a lot of trouble. Then, the flower fairy followed Xiao Changtian out of the cabin. At this moment, the flower fairy had already put on her veil again. The moment the flower fairy came out, the people outside also looked at her. He waved his arms and shouted at her, Flower fairy! Fairy, your zither music is really amazing. How is that kid so lucky to be standing with my goddess? Hearing the shouts around her, the flower fairy slowly smiled. Then, an ethereal voice sounded from the boat. That song just now was not played by me. It was played by this young master. As she spoke, the flower fairy pointed at Xiao Changtian. Chapter 518. Heading to the 100,000 Mountains, One Divine Realm. On the flower boat, hearing the flower fairy's voice, the spectators on both sides of the stream were in disbelief. What? That song was played by that kid? That makes a lot more sense. Otherwise, how could this kid stand together with the fairy? Updated on B0X and 0VL. You really don't say. Fairy and he look quite compatible when they stand together. At the same time, Xiao Changtian slowly walked to the side under the chattering of the spectators. Xiao Changtian also waved at him when he saw the great sun immortal on the shore. When the great sun immortal saw Xiao Changtian waving at him, he smiled at him. At this time, he had to inform Senior Black Tortoise to come back quickly. However, he did not have any way to contact Senior Black Tortoise. At this time, Xiao Changtian also came to the bank of the stream. He walked toward the Grand Sun Immortal and said slowly to the Grand Sun Immortal, "Taoist Big Sun, help me get the ointment from the bamboo basket." "Thank you." When the Great Sun Immortal heard Xiao Changshan's words, he nodded at him. Then, he started to search Xiao Changshan's bamboo basket. At the same time, the Great Yang Immortal broke out in cold sweat. If Senior discovered that Senior Black Tortoise and Fat Rongrong had disappeared, what would they do? Xiao Changshan's voice sounded again. "Taoist Big Sun, are you done? Should I go up and look for it?" When the Great Sun Immortal heard Xiao Changshan's words, he shivered. "There's no need, Senior. I've already found it." Xiao Changtian looked at the ointment box in the hands of the Great Sun Immortal and smiled at him. Xiao Changtian slowly took the ointment box from the Great Sun Immortal and introduced it to Cui Er. "This is perfected de Yang, he brought me here." Cui Er heard Xiao Changshan's words and glanced at the Great Sun Immortal. Then she turned her head away. This person's strength had to be limited even if it was low. He actually could not even reach the most basic cultivation in this divine world. At this moment, Xiao Changtian was also walking towards the flower fairy. Seeing Xiao Changtian still lying on the bed, the audience also said to him, "Brat, don't you know that the fairy's ship doesn't allow men to stay on it? Come down if you've received the blessing." Hearing these sour voices, Xiao Changtian was too lazy to respond. He was going to treat someone, okay? Why did he sound like he was going to do something shameful? If I really listened to you, wouldn't I be guilty? With this thought in mind, Xiao Changtian slowly walked towards the flower fairy's cabin. At this moment, the flower fairy waved at the surrounding audience. The ethereal voice sounded from the boat again. "Today's blessing ceremony will end here. Everyone, you can go back first." Hearing the flower fairy's words, the audience wanted to say something. He could only swallow it in his stomach. Then he slowly left the stream amidst the commotion. In this small town, the flower fairy's prestige was still very high. Then the flower fairy entered the cabin. Seeing the flower fairy enter the cabin, Xiao Changtian slowly walked towards her. He slowly said to her, "Miss, please drink this bowl of water." The flower fairy and Cui Er came in and saw Xiao Changtian holding a porcelain bowl in his hand. Inside the porcelain bowl was some black medicine. "What do you want to give Miss to drink?" Seeing this bowl of medicine, Cui Er walked in front of the flower fairy and said slowly to Xiao Changtian. Xiao Changtian was speechless when he saw Cui Er like this. Why was this guy so hostile towards him from the beginning? He had not offended her in any way. At this time, the flower fairy also slowly said to Cui Er, "Cui Er, don't be unreasonable to young master." Cui Er could only glance at Xiao Changtian and retreat. The flower fairy slowly took the medicine from Xiao Changtian and drank it. Then, the flower fairy felt a surge of power in her body. This power and the yin qi in his body cancelled each other out, continuously purifying the energy in his body. In Cui Er's eyes, the flower fairy's aura was rising steadily. He had already vaguely reached the peak of the God Emperor realm, and could advance to the God Emperor realm at any time. Cui Er looked at the flower fairy in disbelief. "Miss you." The flower fairy felt the change in her body and said happily to Xiao Changtian, "Thank you, young master." Xiao Changshan's potion not only increased her cultivation, but also helped her solve a problem with her cultivation technique. The problem of excessive yin qi caused by the cultivation technique seemed to have been solved. As the yin qi in her body slowly dissipated, the flower fairy's skin became whiter. However, unlike before, this was a natural white, not a sickly white. Xiao Changtian looked at the shocked Cui heir and said slowly, "If you want to treat it or not, follow this prescription." While speaking, Xiao Changtian also handed a prescription to Cui heir. Cui heir took the prescription from Xiao Changtian. Her excitement was written all over her face. He slowly put the prescription into his pocket and saw Xiao Changtian and the flower fairy walking out. At this moment, the audience on both sides of the stream had already left. Only the great sun immortal was left waiting for Xiao Changtian. However, the great sun immortal was not so calm at the moment. He tried to contact Black Tortoise, but no matter what he did, Black Tortoise did not respond. The great sun immortal felt that he might not be able to complete the important task given to him by the Black Tortoise. At this time, Xiao Changtian also came to the shore. "Perfected De Yang, sorry to keep you waiting." When the great sun immortal heard Xiao Changshan's words, he said to him slowly, "It's okay, Senior. Taoist Deong, this is Miss Flower Fairy." While speaking, Xiao Changtian introduced the Flower Fairy to the great sun immortal. "She's more familiar with the 100,000 mountains. Let's let her lead us there." When the great sun immortal heard Xiao Changshan's words, he nodded at him. The flower fairy also gestured to the great sun immortal. She did not look down on the grand sun immortal just because he was weak. Even Xiao Changtian was polite to him. How could this person be as simple as he looked? At the same time, outside the divine world, two figures slowly appeared in the air. A man and a woman. The woman looked at the divine realm in front of her with a pair of ice blue eyes. Her eyes were filled with disdain, and they were precisely Lung Mei and Xin Yan, who had come from the divine gate. Chapter 519. Senior not only raises a black tortoise, but also a phoenix, one, in the divine realm, on a continuous mountain peak. The peak of the mountain reached straight into the clouds, and the top of the mountain was covered in layers of fog. Roar, roar, roar. From time to time, the roars of wild beasts could be heard from the mountain peak. Updated on B0x0VL. Calm Xiao Changtian, and the flower fairy slowly appeared in front of the mountain. "Young master, the 100,000 mountains is just ahead." The flower fairy pointed at the 100,000 mountains and said to Xiao Changtian. Xiao Changtian smiled at the flower fairy. Looking at Wei Yan's mountain peak, he nodded in satisfaction. If they established their forces in this mountain, there would definitely not be any cultivators who would disturb them. With this thought in mind, Xiao Changtian slowly said to the flower fairy, "Miss, let's go in and take a look." Then, under the guidance of the flower fairy, Xiao Changtian followed her into the 100,000 mountains. At this time, the great sun immortal also planned to follow Xiao Changtian in. He walked to the front of the 100,000 mountains and looked at the fork in the road. The great sun immortal felt his arm being pulled by someone. Then Cui heir's voice slowly entered his ears. "Fellow Taoist, let young miss and young master walk around alone. Well, go over there." This was obviously not the first time Cui heir had come to the outskirts of the 100,000 mountains. Therefore, he was not that afraid of the 100,000 mountains. When the great sun immortal heard Cui heir's words, he looked in the direction where Xiao Changtian had left. After hesitating for a moment, he nodded at Cui heir. This girl seemed to have such an interest in Senior, so he naturally had to fulfill her wish. Then, the great sun immortal followed Cui heir and slowly walked towards another corridor. After Xiao Changtian and the others entered the 100,000 mountains, two figures appeared on the mountain. It was that person who killed the lords. The divine eyes looked at Xiao Changtian, who had entered the 100,000 mountains, and said slowly to Lung Mei who was beside him. Lung Mei looked at the 100,000 mountains in front of him, and then at Xiao Changtian who had entered. His eyes narrowed slightly as he spoke slowly. Interesting. The mist that filled the 100,000 mountains seemed to have some isolating effect on her senses. A small divine world actually had such a place. This made Lung Mei somewhat interested in the 100,000 mountains. Following that, Lung Mei turned into a stream of light and flew into the 100,000 mountains. The divine eye remained where it was, looking at Lung Mei who had entered the 100,000 mountains. No one knew what it was thinking. The reason why he brought Lung Mei here to look for Xiao Changtian, and didn't look for Di Tian. Most importantly, when they were on the floating island, he felt that Xiao Changtian was guessing Di Tian's leader. Xiao Changtian was obviously stronger, which would prove his words. In the 100,000 mountains, Cui and the immortal De Yang were walking side by side on the mountain road. Cui looked at the great sun immortal beside her and slowly said to him, "Let me ask you, how is your young master? What does he usually do?" After the flower fairy took the initiative to remove Xiao Changshan's veil, Cui became more interested in Xiao Changtian. When the great sun immortal heard Cui's words, he hesitated for a moment and then slowly said, "This senior is highly respected and is currently tempering his heart in the mortal world, experiencing life in the mortal world." Cui smiled when she heard the words of the great sun immortal. She continued to speak to the great sun immortal. "Wow. Then your young master must be an expert who can shake the entire divine realm, right?" Hearing Cui's words, the great sun immortal slowly said, "Senior, I don't dare to speculate on your strength. As for your name, I don't know either." Cui's cold smile became even more obvious when she heard the words of the big sun. The young master's zither skills and medical skills were not bad, but unfortunately, this servant was too good at pretending. It was the same as those who pursued the ladies. He said how awesome he was, but if he really wanted to say something specific, he could not say anything. With such a servant, as his master, young master's character would naturally not be good. As she thought about this, Cui's impression of Xiao Changtian immediately decreased. "No, I have to remind Miss later. He couldn't let Miss be kidnapped by him." At this time, the great sun immortal also said slowly to Cui, "Fellow Taoist, do you have any way to transmit your voice over a large area?" The great sun immortal felt bad that he couldn't contact the black tortoise. Cui shook her head at him when she heard the words of the great sun immortal. If she knew, she would send a voice transmission to the flower fairy right now and tell her to be careful of Xiao Changtian. "Why? Do you have something to do?" When the great sun immortal heard Cui's words, he also said to her slowly, "It's nothing much. One just want to pass a message to Senior Black Tortoise." When Cui heard the words of the great sun immortal, she also said to the great sun immortal with some ridicule, "Black Tortoise, does that mean that your young master is raising a black tortoise? There should be a limit to this posturing. Where did this bragging go to? He even said that he raised the black tortoise. Did he dare to believe what he said?" When the great sun immortal heard Cui's words, he nodded at Cui without hesitation. "That's right. Senior not only raises black tortoise, but also phoenix, heaven-swallowing dog, ancestral dragon, chaos ant." "All right." Cui interrupted the words of the great sun immortal. Her impression of the great sun immortal was already very bad. Why was this old man so good at bragging? He really thought of himself as a divine beast breeder. If he was that awesome, he would be in the divine world. "No, I must tell this information to the young miss. With Miss' current situation, that person might have deceived her. The young lady was abducted by him." With this thought in her heart, Cui also walked towards the other side. As the great sun immortal watched Cui leave, he slowly said to her, "Miss, where are you going?" Cui ignored him. Seeing that Cui didn't respond, the great sun immortal followed her. After all, he was not familiar with the 100,000 mountains. Perhaps he would die here. On the way to Cui's departure, a figure slowly appeared above her. "There's actually someone here. Interesting." When Lung Mei spoke, there was some blood on his hand. Following that, Lung Mei brought along a whirlwind and flew towards Cui. When Cui was walking, she felt a cold wind wrapping around her. In a moment, Cui's body was surrounded by snow and wind. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The cold wind roared in Cui's ears. Cui looked at the unusual scene around her. His heart also became solemn. The great sun immortal, who was following behind, looked at the sudden cold wind. His expression was also solemn. He placed his hands on his waist, ready to attack at any moment. Chapter 520. He old man, one divine realm. 100,000 mountains. Chuyer looked at the cold wind around her and slowly said, "Who is it? Come out." She had never encountered such a situation when she entered the 100,000 mountains. It was obvious that someone was up to something. Updated on B0x0VL. Calm when Lung Mei heard Chuyer's words. She also let out a sentence of bell-like laughter. Then, a cold wind swept towards Chuyer, and a cold figure appeared beside her. Chuyer looked at Lung Mei, who suddenly appeared beside her, and was about to make a move. He realized that the true essence in his body had completely solidified. He was completely unable to move his body. This person was very strong. Feeling the changes in her body, Chuyer also made an evaluation of Lung Mei at the first moment. Lung Mei looked at Chuyer in front of her and said slowly, "With your strength, it's impossible for you to kill Tian Yuan. Tell me, where did those two people go?" When she entered the 100,000 mountains, Lung Mei also relied on her strong body to walk casually. She did encounter many fierce beasts, but she killed them one by one. Chuyer's mood fell to the bottom when she heard Lung Mei's words. Could this person's target be Miss? With this thought in mind, Chuyer did not think too much about it. She shouted at the great sun immortal who had just walked over. "Old man, this guy is Miss and young master. Hurry up and go." Before Chuyer could finish speaking, she realized that her mouth had been sealed by an ice cube. His body was slowly covered by a layer of ice. In the end, he turned into an ice sculpture in front of the great sun immortal. When the great sun immortal saw Chuyer's appearance, he instinctively wanted to find Xiao Changtian. He wasn't sure when Chuyer was there, but he was sure that she was definitely much higher than him. Even Chuyer couldn't resist. He should hurry to find Xiao Changtian. At this moment, Lung Mei saw the enlightened person of the Sun Dynasty running to the other side, and said disdainfully, "There's still someone who's even worse than an ant. You have no value in existence." As she spoke, a long ice spear appeared beside Lung Mei. Whoosh! The ice spear condensed for only a moment before it flew toward Taoist Big Sunday, feeling that he was locked onto by the ice spear. The great sun immortal could barely muster up any thoughts of resistance. Without any thoughts, the ice spear arrived in front of him. Then bang! The ice spear shattered in front of the great sun immortal. "This beauty! I like your personality. Why don't you follow me?" As this voice rang out in the valley, the immortal De Yong slowly recovered. Looking up at the sky, he slowly said, "Senior Black Tortoise?" As soon as the great sun immortal finished speaking, the black tortoise's figure slowly landed in front of the great sun immortal. "Perfected De Yong, you're really too mean. Didn't you say that master would come out and inform me?" Originally, Black Tortoise also wanted to come to the 100,000 mountains to see if there were any beautiful women. Unexpectedly, after walking around, there was nothing here. It was filled with wild beasts. This greatly disappointed the Black Tortoise. When he realized that everyone was gone, he hurried over. When the great sun immortal heard the Black Tortoise's words, he smiled bitterly and said to him slowly, "Senior Black Tortoise, it's not that I didn't inform you, but I couldn't contact you." As he spoke, the great sun immortal revealed a trace of helplessness. When Senior Black Tortoise heard Taoist Big Sun's words, he also felt that it made sense. "That's true. Then I won't argue with you this time. It's more important for this Sea King to pursue beautiful women." Lung Mei looked at the Black Tortoise that had suddenly appeared, and her eyes narrowed slightly. His palm changed, and the water droplets in the surrounding air immediately condensed. They formed icy blue ice spikes around her. "Frost ice art!" Lung Mei shouted loudly, and then countless ice thorns attacked the Black Tortoise. Whoosh! 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 Wow, such a fiery temper. This Sea King likes it, Black Tortoise said excitedly as he looked at the incoming icicles. In the past, when those people saw him, they would always be submissive. There was actually someone who wanted to take the initiative to attack him. This made Black Tortoise feel extremely interested. "Boss, let me do it." The fat Rong Rong looked at the incoming icicles, also preparing to help Black Tortoise block. "Fatty, there's no need. I'll do it myself." Playing these tricks in front of the water ancestor, Black Tortoise. Wasn't he courting death? The Black Tortoise casually spat out a green light. Then, the icicles disappeared like snow meeting the sun. When Lung Mei saw that her attack had been easily resolved, she slowly said to the Black Tortoise, "Are you really Black Tortoise?" When she first saw Black Tortoise, she instinctively felt that it was because of some special cultivation method of a beast. If he wanted to deceive him, he would use his immortal skill to test it. After all, how could a divine beast like the Black Tortoise be born in such a place? Unexpectedly, it was easily resolved by Black Tortoise. Hearing Lung Mei's somewhat shocked voice, the Black Tortoise also slowly said to her, "Beauty, what? Is this Sea King still fake? Oh, why is there a beauty beside you? Although the ice beauty is beautiful, she's not angry and not fun." As the Black Tortoise spoke, a green light flew towards the ice sculpture where Chui'er was. The green light landed on the ice sculpture, and a loud bang sounded. The ice layer that sealed Chui'er broke into pieces, revealing Chui'er's figure. Cough, cough, cough. After breaking free from the ice layer, Chui'er coughed violently. Then, seeing that the Great Sun Immortal was still standing there, he said to him, "Why are you still here?" The Great Sun Immortal was still here, which meant something. He was also subdued like her. It seemed that the person just now had gone to look for Miss and the others. At this moment, Black Tortoise arrived in front of Chui'er. "Beauty, I saved your life. How are you going to repay me? Why don't I take advantage of you and marry you?" Chui'er was also furious when she heard Black Tortoise's words. Then, when he saw the Black Tortoise in front of him, he understood something. This Black Tortoise must have been left behind by that person to guard them. As she thought of this, she recalled what the Great Sun Immortal had said. Chui'er could not help but say slowly to the Great Sun Immortal, "Old man, didn't you raise this Black Tortoise? Why don't you let them go and save Miss and the others?" At this moment, Chui'er's words were filled with mockery. When Black Tortoise heard Chui'er's words, he also looked at the Great Sun Immortal. When the Great Sun Immortal felt Black Tortoise's gaze, he hurriedly waved his hand at him. "Senior Black Tortoise, it's not like this. Don't listen to her nonsense." Chui'er saw the nervous look on Taoist Big Sun's face, and mocked him in her heart. "Hee old man." Chapter 521. Then why did you run away? Do you not like this Sea King? Divine Realm. 100,000 mountains. The Great Sun Immortal looked at the Black Tortoise in front of him, and said slowly to him, "I'm saying that Senior Black Tortoise was raised by Senior." As he spoke, Taoist Big Sun glared at Chui'er. The Great Sun Immortal had seen the fight between Black Tortoise and Phoenix many times. Updated on B0x0VL.com, he was very clear about their bad tempers. If he was pestered by Miss Chui'er, he would suffer an undeserved disaster later. Chui'er could not help but say when she felt the gaze of the Great Sun Immortal, "Aren't they all the same?" Now Black Tortoise is starting to shirk responsibility. When Black Tortoise heard Chui'er's words, he finally understood. Then, he came in front of Chui'er and said to Fatty, "Fatty, I like this girl very much too. Which one do you think I should choose?" The fat Rongrong was currently nibbling on a sword she got from who knows where. Hearing Black Tortoise's words, he also slowly said to him, "Boss, do we still have to choose? Of course we want both. Boss, you're the Sea King. Who doesn't love you?" The fat Rongrong's words also touched Black Tortoise's heart. Black Tortoise's heart was also filled with joy, looking at the fat Rongrong more and more pleasing to the eye. Why was this kid so sensible? "Fatty, you're right. This Sea King doesn't need to make any choice. You two served me once." As he spoke, the Black Tortoise looked at the void in front of him, and spat out a green light. "Beauty, don't run." At this moment in the void, Lung Mei's figure passed through layers of void. He desperately flew out of the 100,000 mountains. After learning that the Black Tortoise was a true divine beast, Lung Mei did not have any heart to resist. He grabbed Black Tortoise and Chui'er and escaped while they were chatting. This divine realm was really like what the divine eye had said, where dragons and tigers hid. It seemed that Tenjin and the others had died here for a reason. Now, he could only wait until he returned to the sacred spirit world and report to his clan before making any plans. Lung Mei's figure was flying in the air. Then she saw the light at the exit. Just as she was about to leave the 100,000 mountains, a green light wrapped around her. Feeling the green light on her body, Lung Mei's expression changed. There was a hint of fear on her exquisite face. No, Senior Black Tortoise, don't. Black Tortoise was the ancestor of water, the ancestor of all water. When the green light wrapped around Lung Mice's body, it also wanted to cripple Lung Mice cultivation. After all, as long as Lung Mei lost her cultivation, she would not run around. Upon hearing Lung Mice's terrified voice, Black Tortoise's voice was also transmitted from the green light. Then why did you run away? Do you not like the Sea King? Lung Mei felt that her cultivation had already been suppressed. If she continued to be corroded by the green light, his realm would definitely start to fall. This was something she could not accept no matter what. Sensing the changes in his body, Lung Mei hurriedly said to the Black Tortoise, Senior Black Tortoise, why am I running? I want to serve you. As she spoke, she flew back to her original position. She was really afraid that Black Tortoise would cripple her cultivation. You're too slow. Let this Sea King give you a hand. As soon as Black Tortoise finished speaking, Lung Mei also felt the green light on her body bring her towards Black Tortoise's direction. In an instant he arrived in front of the Black Tortoise. Coming here again, Lung Mei knew that what she had done just now was all for nothing. At this moment, Chui'er saw Lung Mei, who had returned to her side. His face was also a little stunned. Didn't this woman go to deal with Miss? Why did he come back? It's good that you like this Sea King. You can serve this Sea King together. At this moment, Black Tortoise's voice slowly entered Chui'er and Lung Mice's ears. Lung Mei looked at the Black Tortoise in front of him, and her body shook. Although she was very overbearing, she was still a newbie when it came to such matters. When Chui'er heard Black Tortoise's words, she slowly understood something. This Black Tortoise was not this woman's divine beast? Could it be that it was really as the great Sun Immortal said, that the Black Tortoise was raised by that young master? For the first time, Chui'er began to doubt her own thoughts. And at this time, in order to not let Black Tortoise cripple his cultivation, Lung Mei also slowly came to Black Tortoise's side. Come, massage the Sea King's shoulders. Black Tortoise had unknowingly sat on the fat Rongrong's body, speaking slowly to Lung Mei. Lung Mei looked at Black Tortoise's face and hesitated. After struggling internally, he also stood behind the fat Rongrong, massaging the Black Tortoise on his body. Then Black Tortoise said to Chui'er, That beauty, are you looking down on me? Chui'er was still in a daze. She no longer knew where Black Tortoise came from. However, when he saw a powerhouse like Lung Mei, he still wanted to rub the shoulders of the Black Tortoise. She gritted her teeth and walked towards Black Tortoise. If he did not yield, Black Tortoise would use some forceful means on him later. Wouldn't it be even more embarrassing for me to be a follower? At the same time, Chui'er also looked at the great Sun Immortal. If this Black Tortoise was really raised by that young master, this old man would have to speak up for him no matter what. When the great Sun Immortal felt Chui'er's gaze, he turned his head away. It seemed that she was dissatisfied with Chui'er for speaking nonsense in front of the Black Tortoise. This damned old man. Chui'er cursed Immortal De Yang in her heart. At this moment, Black Tortoise also slowly said to Chui'er, who had come in front of him, Come, this Sea King has been busy recently, and my limbs are also very sore. When the fat Rongrong below Black Tortoise heard these words, she also slowly said to Black Tortoise, Boss, haven't I been bringing you around recently? Black Tortoise was also somewhat embarrassed by the fat Rongrong's words, and also glared at the fat Rongrong. This fat guy, I thought he had a lot of directors recently. Why did he not understand? Don't expose me in front of a beauty. And the fat Rongrong felt Black Tortoise's gaze, and knew that she had said something wrong. He also obediently shut his mouth. At this time, Black Tortoise also looked at Chui'er in front of him. He muttered, Then what should you do? Black Tortoise looked at Chui'er in front of him, and began to think. At this moment, a voice sounded in Black Tortoise's ear. You old turtle, why did you run out again and even harass the girl? I'll beat you to death. Hearing this voice, Black Tortoise almost reflexively jumped up from the fat Rongrong. Then, he saw Xiao Changtian walking towards him angrily. Chapter 522. This girl was terrified. 1. Divine Realm. 100,000 Mountains. Xiao Changtian followed the flower fairy around the 100,000 mountains for a while. The flower fairy also told Xiao Changtian some of the routes she knew. As for the depths of the 100,000 mountains, the flower fairy did not dare to go in and investigate. Therefore, after introducing the things that he knew to Xiao Changtian, update on Biomicron X0VL, Xiaomicron M. The flower fairy also suggested to look for Chui and Taoist De Yang. He didn't expect to see this old turtle run out of the basket when he arrived. Moreover, it seemed like he was harassing a good woman. Wasn't he causing trouble for himself? With this thought in mind, Xiao Changtian also walked towards the direction of the black tortoise. Seeing Black Tortoise trying to escape from the ground, he also grabbed him up from the ground. Looking at the Black Tortoise in his hand, Xiao Changtian slowly said to him, "You old turtle, can't you make me worry a little?" While speaking, Xiao Changtian also slapped the Black Tortoise. When the Black Tortoise heard Xiao Changshan's angry voice, it slowly retracted its limbs into its turtle shell. On the side, Lung Mei and Chui looked at Xiao Changshan's appearance. He was also shocked. The Black Tortoise was beaten up by someone just like that? After Xiao Changtian beat the Black Tortoise, he slowly threw it on the ground. Then, he walked towards Lung Mei and said slowly to her, "Miss, did I scare you just now?" After Xiao Changtian realized that Mu Jiuhuang and the others in the courtyard were afraid of the Black Tortoise, he was shocked. He also started to worry. This old turtle didn't scare this girl, right? Lung Mei looked at Xiao Changtian, who was standing in front of the self-help, not knowing what to say. She had personally experienced Black Tortoise's strength. This person had captured Black Tortoise and beaten him up until he had no temper. Now Lung Mei already regretted why she came to the Divine Realm. This place was originally a barren land, and the ones who died were actually insignificant cultivators under his command. Why did he have to come here? At this time, Lung Mei's hair was messy on her face because of the wind in the valley. Xiao Changtian also reached out to help Lung Mei put her ice blue hair behind him. The moment he was touched by Xiao Changtian, Lung Mei's body shook as if he had been electrocuted. Seeing Lung Mei's nervous and restrained appearance, Xiao Changtian also sighed in his heart. This girl looked like she was so frightened that she didn't even know how to speak. He had to take good care of Black Tortoise in the future. She had only been out for a few days, and she was already causing trouble for him. He thought that it had become obedient. The flower fairy saw Xiao Changtian helping Lung Mei with her hair. He also slowly walked over to Lung Mei. "Sister, may I ask who you are?" Lung Mei looked at Xiao Changtian in front of him, and then at the flower fairy, who had extended her hand to him. Miss Chui was also a little worried when she saw the flower fairy taking the initiative to talk to Lung Mei. She had personally experienced the terror of Lung Mei just now. The bone-piercing chill and the moment of freezing were still vivid in his mind. At this moment, Lung Mei slowly extended her hand and shook the flower fairy's hand. "Let go." Chui came between the flower fairy and Lung Mei and separated their hands. Then, he glared at Lung Mei and whispered into the flower fairy's ear, "Miss, be careful. This is a female devil." Xiao Changtian also said to Lung Mei, "Miss, it seems that you are scared out of your wits. Taoist Master De Yang, can I trouble you to bring the girl back?" As a mortal, he didn't have the ability to send a lady home. However, the Great Sun Immortal was different. His cultivation was powerful, so he could rest assured that she would bring the girl home. When the Great Sun Immortal heard Xiao Changshan's words, he nodded at him. With Senior protecting him, what was he afraid of? When Lung Mei saw that Xiao Changtian wanted the Great Sun Immortal to take him away, he was also in disbelief. This person had just let him go. Following that, under the guidance of the Great Sun Immortal, Lung Mei also slowly left the 100,000 mountains. When the flower fairy saw Lung Mei leave, she also said slowly to Chui beside her, "I'm not afraid." Chui also covered her forehead when she saw the flower fairy like this. He didn't know what to do. At this moment, Xiao Changqing came to the flower fairy and said slowly, "Young lady, it's getting late. Why don't you go back first?" When the flower fairy heard Xiao Changshan's words, she wanted to ask him what he was going to do. Chui stood in front of her and said slowly to Xiao Changtian, "Young master, it's getting late. I'll take Miss back first." Everything that had happened today had left Chui dumbfounded. Before she figured it out, She would not give the flower fairy and Xiao Changtian a chance to interact. Although this senior was the master of the black tortoise, why was he so good to that female devil? Under Cui Er's tugging, the flower fairy reluctantly left with her. Xiao Changtian looked at the direction where the flower fairy had left and waved at her. Although the flower fairy had already introduced the situation of the 100,000 mountains to him. However, Xiao Changtian felt that this was not deep enough. Just in case, Xiao Changtian decided to go deeper. He wanted to see if there was a better place to build his foundation. Then, Xiao Changtian also started to walk slowly into the 100,000 mountains. After the great sun immortal left the 100,000 mountains with Lung Mei, he said to her slowly, "Since Senior wants you to leave, then leave. But you have to remember that Senior likes peace and quiet. If you expose his whereabouts, it will be hard to say when the time comes. You have to know that with Senior's strength, it's not difficult for him to leave something on you." When he spoke, the great sun immortal also sounded threatening. He also knew that Xiao Changtian liked peace and quiet. Therefore, he wanted to help Xiao Changtian give this cold ghost a shot in the dark. When Lung Mei heard the grand sun immortal's words, his figure also shook. He hurriedly used his holy sense to investigate his body. Although they didn't find any imprints, it didn't mean that there were none. If that person's strength was much higher than his, it would be normal for him not to notice it. Thinking like this, Lung Mei seemed to understand everything. Why did that person let him go just now? It turned out that his strength was like an ant in that person's eyes. As he thought of this, Lung Mei also took a deep look at the enlightened person of Daong. The arrogance in his eyes was long gone. Then, his body turned into a stream of light and flew into the distance. She did not want to stay in this divine world for even a moment longer. Chapter 523. It's very possibly an old monster traveling outside. 1. In the heavens beyond in a shattered void. Lung Mei's figure had appeared in this area at some point. He looked at the void in front of him without any hesitation. With a wave of her hand, an icy blue token appeared in her palm. With the effect of the token, the void in front of him also automatically formed a spatial passageway. Update on Biomicron X0VL. Siomicron then, the cold figure flew in with a whoosh. After leaving the 100,000 mountains, Lung Mei went straight to heavens beyond and returned to the spirit race. Whoosh. After returning to the spiritual race, Lung Mei's figure also turned into a stream of light. He flew towards a mountain peak of the spiritual race. Her figure slowly landed on the mountain peak. Lung Mei also slowly walked towards the snow-white palace on the mountain peak. "Mayor, where have you been all this time?" Before Lung Mei could enter the palace, a clear voice came from the snow-white palace. "Sister, I might be in trouble." As soon as Lung Mei finished speaking, an equally beautiful woman appeared in front of her. Unlike Lung Mei, the woman's eyes were ice blue and her hair was silver. "Come in and talk." Lung Xiaoxiao looked at the cold Mei in front of her and looked around. Then, he waved his hand, and Lung Mei and Lung Xiaoxiao entered the palace. After entering the palace, Lung Mei also told Lung Xiaoxiao everything that he had encountered in the 100,000 mountains. "Divine beast black tortoise? I'll beat you until you can't resist at all. There's such an expert outside of human realm upon heavens." In my mouth, Lung Xiaoxiao paced back and forth in the palace. Then, she stretched out her hand and pointed at Lung Mei's forehead. Then, a spiritual light swept across Lung Mei's body. "That person probably didn't leave anything on you." As Lung Xiaoxiao said that, she thought of something. "Mayor, are you stupid? This situation can only mean one thing. That person is not worried that your return will cause any harm to her. It's very likely that he's an old monster who's traveling outside." When Lung Mei heard Lung Xiaoxiao's words, he also said somewhat anxiously, "Sister, what should I do?" Although she was usually a little mischievous, she had never thought of dying or having her cultivation crippled. She had also considered Xiao Changshan's strength. It must have reached a level that he could not imagine. "Sister, why do you think such a person would go to a barren land like the divine realm?" Lung Xiaoxiao was walking in the palace. When she heard Lung Mei's words, she said to her slowly, "Little sister, your words have enlightened me. Why do you think such a person would travel in a place like the divine realm?" They must be plotting something. As long as we go over and apologize to them, we 11 see if there's anything we can help with. Maybe they will let you go. When Leng Mei heard Leng Xiaoxiao's words, he said to her somewhat reluctantly, "Sister, do I have to go to that place again?" "Go, of course. Do you still want to live in fear?" Hearing this, Leng Xiaoxiao glared at her. "Go and prepare now. I'll go with you." Divine Realm. 100,000 mountains after the Flower Fairy and the others left. Xiao Changtian also went inside alone with a bamboo basket on his back. After passing through many valleys, Xiao Changshan's eyes lit up. So there's a scenery in the mountains. There was a huge lake in front of Xiao Changtian. Looking at the center of the lake, there was a small island on it. "Let's go to that island and take a look. That's a good place." Looking at the small island in the middle of the lake, Xiao Changtian suddenly felt that he had found a satisfactory place. Xiao Changtian came to the lake and looked at the bottomless lake. He was also a little troubled. It seemed like he still lacked a small boat. Looking around, there was a raft there. Looking at the calm surface of the lake, there shouldn't be any problem for him to go over. With that thought in mind, Xiao Changtian slowly stood on the raft and randomly picked a bamboo stick. He began to swim toward the island in the middle of the lake. When Xiao Changtian stepped on the raft, a pair of huge eyes slowly opened under the lake. Then the figure slowly swam under the lake. And at this time, inside Xiao Changshan's bamboo basket, the fat Rongrong also slowly said to Black Tortoise above her head, "Boss, did you notice that there seems to be a big guy under the lake?" Black Tortoise sat on the fat Rongrong's head, slowly poking his head out of the bamboo basket. "It's just a small lizard. There's nothing to worry about. Master can easily solve it." While the Black Tortoise was talking, a black flood dragon slowly swam toward Xiao Changshan's raft. As the flood dragon slowly approached, Xiao Changtian felt the lake's surface begin to fluctuate. What was happening? Who was causing trouble? Xiao Changtian felt the change in the lake and cursed in his heart. Then he looked down at the lake. There were some faint black shadows on the surface of the lake. It seemed that some animals were causing trouble below. There are many animals in the mountains, but the animals in the lake are also here to cause trouble. Xiao Changtian complained, and then picked up the bamboo from the water. When he came from the valley, Xiao Changtian had seen some ferocious beasts. However, with his hunting skills and understanding of animal habits, Xiao Changtian easily took care of them. Although they weren't a threat to Xiao Changtian, their numbers made him impatient. In the end, Xiao Changshan's interspatial ring was filled with ferocious beast meat. In fact, Xiao Changtian himself didn't want to kill them. However, those ferocious beasts seemed to have their own personalities. If he did not kill them, they would give up attacking him. Therefore, Xiao Changtian felt that this trip to the 100,000 mountains was a great opportunity. They could store enough food for a few months. With this thought in mind, Xiao Changtian also took the bamboo pole and stabbed it towards the black shadow below. Bang! When the bamboo pole fell into the water, it also caused a splash on the surface of the water. Below the lake, the black water dragon looked at the bamboo raft and was about to swallow it. He felt a rapid stream of water rushing towards him with a strong wind. Bang! The water hit the black water dragon's scales. In an instant, a wound opened up on his body. Aha! Caught off guard by the sudden attack, the black water dragon looked at the bamboo raft above with anger. "No wonder you dare to covet my treasure. You have some ability, but compared to me he's far inferior." The blackwater dragon spoke slowly, and its wound healed quickly. Chapter 524:1 Say, "Little Black, you don't have any pretty girls here." 1 Divine Realm. 100,000 mountains under the lake. The blackwater dragon looked at Xiao Changshan's bamboo raft. Its eyes turned red. Wrath of the flood dragon. As the blackwater dragon's eyes turned red, its aura soared rapidly. In an instant, he had also reached the peak of the godly emperor realm. He even had the aura of a half-step human immortal. Update on Biomicron X0VL. Xiomicron M in the 100,000 mountains. It was also one of the top local overlords. After cultivating for tens of thousands of years, his cultivation had also reached the peak of the godly emperor realm. After so many years of staying in the lake at the center of the 100,000 mountains, they had also been constantly plundering all kinds of treasures from other places. They were piled up on the island in the center of the lake for him to enjoy. Now that he saw someone coveting his island, how could he not be angry? As the black water dragon moved quickly, the water on the surface of the lake also became faster. Xiao Changtian felt the change in the lake and said slowly, "All right, another one who wants to die." Through the lake, Xiao Changtian saw a black shadow getting closer and closer to him. Although he couldn't see the body shape of the other party, it was needless to say that Xiao Changtian knew. It must be the animal in the water. The animals in the 100,000 mountains really had their own personalities. At this moment, Xiao Changtian slowly raised the bamboo pole in his hand and waved it. It was aimed at the black shadow below. At this moment, a voice slowly entered Xiao Changshan's ears. "Human die." Hearing this voice, Xiao Changshan's body shook. Had he encountered a demonic beast? In the cultivation world, he had always heard that it was easy to encounter demon beasts in the mountains. However, he thought about how he had been quite lucky along the way. He had only encountered ordinary ferocious beasts. He didn't expect to meet them on this lake. The key was that it was not easy for him to escape. However, there was no turning back. Xiao Changtian swung the bamboo pole in his hand. Xiao Changtian didn't look at the black shadow in front of him. Then, he hit the blackwater dragon's head with the bamboo pole. Bang! The blackwater dragon felt dizzy after being hit by Xiao Changshan's bamboo pole. Then the true essence in his entire body became chaotic. His body fell into the water with a swoosh. Looking at the splashing water on the lake in front of him, Xiao Changtian also looked at the bamboo pole in his hand in disbelief. His bamboo pole wasn't broken? Didn't that demonic beast just now speak human language? With doubts in his heart, Xiao Changtian walked towards the lake. Then, Xiao Changtian saw a dragon with black scales and a long beard appear in front of him. No matter what, this appearance was undoubtedly a demonic beast. However, from the looks of it, why was this demonic beast so vulnerable? He seemed to have been knocked unconscious by his attack just now. He was just a mortal. How could he defeat a demonic beast? Then, Xiao Changtian raised his bamboo pole and pushed the blackwater dragon. After being pushed by Xiao Changtian, the blackwater dragon swam up to him and transmitted its voice to Xiao Changtian. "Senior, I'm just a little demon beast that has just entered the sect, and am not sensible. I'm sorry for bumping into you just now. You're a magnanimous person, so please let me go." After being hit by Xiao Changtian, the blackwater dragon knew that it couldn't defeat Xiao Changtian. The blackwater dragon only had one principle when it came to people stronger than it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to survive in the 100,000 mountains for so long. Xiao Changtian heard the blackwater dragon's words and looked at its obedient face. The demonic beasts in the cultivation world were different from what he remembered. "Did you just cultivate to become a demon?" Xiao Changtian looked at the black flood dragon in front of the bamboo raft and said slowly. The blackwater dragon was stunned when he heard Xiao Changshan's words. With this person's cultivation, it shouldn't be difficult for him to see through his strength. Thinking so, the blackwater dragon said to Xiao Changtian slowly, "Senior, you're right. I'm no different from someone who just cultivated into a demon." Xiao Changtian nodded and said slowly, "It seems so." Xiao Changtian also remembered that when Di Tian first saw him, he also directly fell from the sky. He could still deal with these unskilled cultivators and demon beasts. With this thought in mind, Xiao Changtian slowly walked to the shore. He looked over at the island and saw that there was no one on the island. It was good that this was an uninhabited island. In that case, if he allowed Di Tian to establish his power here, wouldn't it be considered as him occupying the mountain and becoming the king? With this thought in mind, Xiao Changtian slowly walked onto the island. The blackwater dragon, who was following Xiao Changtian, felt a heartache when he saw Xiao Changtian step onto the island. He couldn't tell how strong Xiao Changtian was. What he was sure of was that he couldn't beat him. However, this person was so powerful that he probably wouldn't take a fancy to his things. As he was thinking about this, the blackwater dragon saw Xiao Changtian slowly walking towards him. At this moment, Xiao Changtian said to the blackwater dragon, Big mud fish, just play in the lake. I won't disturb you. And you old turtle, you should go play in the lake too. Don't run around all day. As he spoke, Xiao Changtian also took out the black tortoise from his bamboo basket. And seeing the fat Rongrong, Xiao Changtian rubbed its head. Rongrong, follow me to the island to take a look. When the black water dragon saw the black tortoise slowly walking towards it, it understood something. Why did Xiao Changtian just say that he was a demonic beast that had just entered the sect? Indeed, in front of the black tortoise, he was no different from those demonic beasts who had just entered the sect. Seeing the black tortoise, the black water dragon forced a smile and said slowly, Lord Black Tortoise, what instructions do you have? Black Tortoise looked at Xiao Changtian, who had already brought the fat Rongrong to the island. He also slowly said to the blackwater dragon in front of him, You little lizard, did you want to attack Master just now? No, that was all a misunderstanding, Lord Black Tortoise. At this moment, the black water dragon could only smile apologetically when it heard the black tortoise's accusation. Come, take me to your lake. Hearing Black Tortoise's words, the black destruction serpent dragon didn't show any signs of neglect and started swimming in the lake with Black Tortoise. As the blackwater dragon was the overlord of this place, there were basically no demon beasts in this lake. The entire lake was the blackwater dragon's territory. Therefore, the black tortoise swam slowly in the lake and said to the blackwater dragon beside him, I say, Xiao Hei, you don't have a single beauty here. Chapter 525. Miss already has someone she likes, one divine realm, outside the 100,000 mountains. In the air, a few beautiful women in gorgeous clothes stood tall. At this moment, one of the beauties said to a girl in flowery clothes, Baiji, did you say that Miss escaped to the 100,000 mountains? Upon hearing this beautiful woman's words, the flowery-clothed young girl named Baiji also slowly bowed towards her. Yes, elder. Miss Flower Fairy ran out of the family and fled towards the 100,000 mountains. Update on Biomicron X0VL. Siomicron M. As they spoke, the few beautiful women slowly saw the small town in front of the 100,000 mountains. Let us go down and take a look at the situation first. Then, the beautiful women landed in the small town where the Flower Fairy was. Seeing this deserted town, the beautiful women also frowned slightly. The reputation of the forbidden area of the 100,000 mountains did not come out of thin air. Seeing this deserted town, the beautiful women also felt a little cold. I don't know what young lady wants to do. Isn't it better to listen to Palace Master's words? Looking at the deserted town, the beautiful woman couldn't help but complain. Don't say anything more. We just need to take Miss back. At this moment, the beautiful woman in the lead slowly said to the beautiful woman beside her, Let's first understand this town. Following that, the few beautiful women also walked towards a small stall on the side of the street. At the same time, Cui, who was walking on the street, also saw these beautiful women. Someone from the palace has arrived. After saying this, Cui slowly turned around and ran towards the back. Baiji also saw this scene. She pointed at Cui, who was running, and said slowly, Elders, look, Cui. When the beautiful women heard Baiji's words, they also looked in the direction she pointed out. Chase! The few beautiful women looked at each other and stood up from the chairs they had just sat down on. Then, they all turned into a stream of light and chased after Cui. 100,000 Mountains Xiao Changtian brought the fat Rongrong around the island. He was also very happy. This island was simply a huge treasure. Not only was it an uninhabited island, but it was also rich in resources. If they established their forces here, they would not have to worry about the attacks of those cultivators. Moreover, he did not have to worry about eating, drinking, and having fun. The island's terrain was also very suitable for building houses. With this thought in mind, Xiao Changtian slowly walked to the lake. He also slowly said to the lake, Old turtle, we're going back. After Xiao Changtian finished his words, the black tortoise and the black water dragon slowly appeared beside the lake. At this moment, the black water dragon was behind the black tortoise, and it was feeling a little uneasy. After Senior Black Tortoise had played around in the lake, He had already reached the peak of the lake. He was not interested in any treasures, but he was very interested in beautiful women. However, he was the only one here. How could there be any beautiful women? Therefore, after seeing the black tortoise's displeasure, the black water dragon became submissive. And at this time, the black water dragon saw the fat Rongrong beside Xiao Changtian, holding a few bamboos. His heart ached. That was the spiritual bamboo he had just plundered from other demon beasts a while ago. And the fat Rongrong didn't pay any attention to the black flood dragon, continuing to gnaw on the spirit bamboo in her hand. This thing was not of much help to his cultivation. However, the taste was still quite good. However, the black water dragon did not dare to say anything. It could only wait quietly at the side. At this moment, Xiao Changtian said to Black Tortoise, "Old Turtle, we've found the place." At this moment, Xiao Changtian also placed the black tortoise into the bamboo basket. Looking at the lake in front of him, Xiao Changtian also walked to the bamboo raft he came from. Looking at the black water dragon on the shore, he slowly said to him, "I'll call you Little Black. We're going to be neighbors here." Xiao Changtian slowly left the island. The black water dragon was left standing on the spot, with a dumbfounded expression. When Xiao Changtian left with the black tortoise, the black water dragon thought it was going to be freed. It seemed like this person would come again in the future. At the same time, in a small courtyard, the flower fairy and the great sun immortal were sitting in the courtyard, waiting for Xiao Changshan's return. After the flower fairy left the 100,000 mountains, she also invited the great sun immortal to rest at her place. Standing at the door, Daoist Big Sun saw Chui'er running over slowly from outside, looking anxious. He also slowly said to her, "Miss Chui'er, what's wrong? Did something happen?" Chui'er saw Daoist Big Sun standing at the entrance and waved at him. "Quick, tell young lady that someone from the palace has arrived." When the great sun immortal heard Chui'er's words, he was also stunned for a moment. Shouldn't they be happy that someone had come to their house? Why did he look so nervous? At this moment, Daoist Big Sun also saw the beautiful women behind Chui'er. Chui'er entered through the door, and the flower fairy also went up to greet her. "Chui'er, what's wrong?" "Miss, someone from the palace has arrived." As she spoke, Chui'er also looked towards the sky. As soon as she finished speaking, a woman's voice came from the small courtyard. "Miss, you've been out for so long. Come back with me." Upon hearing this voice, the flower fairy also saw the orange-robed woman in the air. She opened her mouth and said slowly to her, "Great Elder, you know what I will face if I go back. Do you still want to take me back?" The Great Elder was the person who took the most care of the flower fairy in the family. Moreover, he was very powerful, and his strength was above the flower fairy's. He could even be said to be the flower fairy's teacher. Therefore, the flower fairy didn't have any intention of escaping from under her eyes. When the beautiful woman heard the flower fairy's words, she said without any emotion, "Miss, this is the palace master's intention. You should return with me." Hearing the beautiful woman's words, Chui'er also blocked the flower fairy and slowly said to the beautiful woman, "Great Elder, why do you think it's a pity to sacrifice Miss Happiness? Miss already has someone she likes." At this time, Chui'er also planned to use Xiao Changtian as a shield. After all, although he didn't know Xiao Changshan's character, his strength was real. At this moment, the beautiful woman heard Chui'er's words and frowned. Chui'er also said slowly to the great sun immortal beside her, "Don't you think so, old man?" When Daoist Big Sun heard Chui'er's words, he did not reply. How could he know what Senior was thinking? It wouldn't be good if he said it casually. A cultivator, who has just entered the divine world, wants to covet the young miss. It's better for him to go mine. At this moment, Baiji saw the grand sun immortal below and shouted at him. Seeing Chui'er talking to Immortal Daong, Baiji also thought that Immortal Daong was the flower fairy's sweetheart. Chapter 526. Lung Xiaoxiao arrives. 1. Divine Realm. A small town outside the 100,000 mountains. In the courtyard, Baiji's true essence slowly surged in her hand. In the end, he turned into a long rainbow and attacked the great sun immortal. The great sun immortal looked at Baiji, who had suddenly attacked him, and did not react in time. Looking at the fatal blow, the immortal De Jong immediately took out a blueprint from his pocket. Just as he was about to open it, he saw Bai Ji's rainbow turn into an icy rainbow in front of him. Bang! The moment the ice rainbow condensed, it immediately exploded. Then an ethereal female voice slowly sounded between heaven and earth. Guys, it's not good to bully the weak. When Bai Ji saw that her attack had been neutralized, she was also shocked. She looked up into the sky. Then, a woman dressed in blue clothes slowly appeared in everyone's line of sight. The woman slowly landed in front of the great sun immortal and smiled at him. Sir, update on Biomicron X0VL. Siomicron M, a white-robed woman appeared out of thin air beside her. The moment the two women appeared, they instantly became the most beautiful scenery in the entire courtyard. Almost everyone's eyes were focused on them. Chuier's expression turned grave when she saw the two women. These two women were none other than Lung Mei, who had left the 100,000 mountains not long ago. The white-robed woman beside Lung Mei was Lung Xiaoxiao, who had brought her here. The orange-robed beauty looked at the two women below and slowly said to them, "Fellow Taoists, this is our Flower Fairy Palace's business. Please don't interfere." The beautiful woman felt an unprecedented pressure from Lung Mei and Lung. This pressure was something that even the palace lord of the Flower Fairy Palace had never given her. Thus, the beautiful woman was extremely polite when she spoke to Lung Mei and Lung Xiaoxiao. "We've interfered in the matters of your Flower Fairy Palace. What should you do?" Hearing the beautiful woman's words, Lung Xiaoxiao remained unmoved. Her cold voice slowly sounded. His voice revealed an unquestionable coldness that put people thousands of miles away. If it was any other time, he would have encountered cultivators like Bai Ji. After all, they were no different from ants in his eyes. But this time she was here to apologize to Xiao Chong Tian with a cold charm. She didn't want to cause trouble. In midair, Bai Ji heard Lung Xiaoxiao's words and looked at the ridiculously beautiful woman in front of her. For some reason, a wave of jealousy rose in her heart. He shouted at Lung Xiaoxiao below. "Who do you think you are? Just because you have some strength, you can be in front of my Flower Fairy Palace." "Shut up." Before Bai Ji could finish her sentence, she was interrupted by the orange-robed beauty in midair. After berating Bai Ji, the orange-robed beauty slowly said to Lung Xiaoxiao, "Since fellow Taoist is here today, he'll naturally give you face. Let's go." The orange-robed beauty said to the people around her after she finished speaking. Hearing the orange-robed bowtie's words, the others could only swallow their thoughts. They only understood that the great elder was very afraid of those two women. The women had only taken a few steps when the orange-robed beauty vanished into thin air. "Miss, come back with me. The palace needs you." The orange-colored beauty had appeared behind the Flower Fairy. The Flower Fairy's body trembled when she heard the orange-robed bowtie's words. "Great Elder." The orange-robed beauty was already resting her head on the Flower Fairy's shoulder. Just as he touched the Flower Fairy's shoulder, his entire arm was covered in ice without any warning. "Get lost!" Lung Xiaoxiao's eyes flashed with white light. With a bang, the orange-robed bowtie's arm shattered into pieces of ice. Is fellow Taoist really going to do this? The orange-robed beauty shouted at Lung Xiaoxiao as she covered her wound. The Flower Fairy looked at the great elder, who was cut off by Lung Xiaoxiao, and said slowly to her, "First Elder, are you all right?" Ignoring the Flower Fairy, the beautiful woman in orange looked at Lung Xiaoxiao, turned around, and flew into the distance. The orange-robed beauty knew that the test just now had already determined who was stronger. As long as Lung Xiaoxiao had any thoughts, she would spill her blood on the spot. After the orange-robed beauty left, Lung Xiaoxiao brought Lung Mei to the front of the great sun immortal. "Sir, can you introduce us to Senior? I've brought Mayor here to apologize to Senior." Lung Xiaoxiao's voice seemed to have a magical power. Although it revealed a coldness that rejected people thousands of miles away, it brushed past his ears. Instead, it gave off a feeling of endless aftertaste. The great sun immortal was also stunned on the spot. He had just sent this woman away. He came back so quickly, and even brought another stunning beauty with him. The great sun immortal looked at Lung Xiaoxiao and Lung Mei in front of him and said slowly to them, "Senior hasn't returned yet. Please go back." Lung Xiaoxiao smiled when she heard the words of the great sun immortal. Since Senior hasn't returned, Then I'll wait here with little sister. As she spoke, Lung Xiaoxiao also brought Lung Mei to the side. Perhaps it was because the spiritual energy in this area was thin. The spiritual energy between heaven and earth was clearly denser than in other places. Cui Er looked at Lung Xiaoxiao and Lung Mei as if she was facing a great enemy. He protected the flower fairy behind him. In her opinion, Lung Mei's level of danger was no less than the flower fairy palace's first elder just now. At this moment, Lung Xiaoxiao also glanced at Lung Mei. Following that, Lung Mei came in front of Cui Er and said slowly to her, "Fellow Taoist, please don't take issue with what happened in the mountains." Before she could figure out Xiao Changshan's situation, Lung Xiaoxiao had to resolve this matter no matter what. If Xiao Changtian was as powerful as he had expected, if he did this, he would be able to obtain her forgiveness. If he was just pretending to lose, he would also settle the score with him. At this moment, the sound of footsteps could be heard from the courtyard. Then, Xiao Changtian came to the courtyard, and in front of Xiao Changtian was the fat Rongrong crawling along with the black tortoise. It wasn't that Xiao Changtian wanted to let them out. However, Xiao Changtian couldn't find the path to the courtyard, so he tried his best. He had used the old turtle as alpha, but he had not expected that following him would really lead him to Immortal De Yang. After entering the courtyard, Xiao Changtian waved at the Great Sun Immortal. The Great Sun Immortal. When Lung Xiaoxiao saw Xiao Changtian come in, she also walked towards him slowly. Chapter 527. Could this person be the creation immortal? 1. Divine Realm. Flower Fairy's courtyard. Xiao Changtian entered the yard and slowly walked towards the Grand Sun Immortal. At this moment, a cold voice entered his ears. "Senior." Xiao Changtian heard the voice and looked to his side. Then, he looked at Lung Xiaoxiao and Lung Mei beside him. Wasn't this girl the girl he met in the 100,000 Mountains? Could it be that this girl was scared by the turtle in the 100,000 Mountains and came looking for him? Xiao Changtian said to Lung Xiaoxiao and the others, "What are you two doing?" Lung Xiaoxiao heard Xiao Changshan's words and said slowly, "Update on Biomicron X0VL. Siomicron M Senior, I brought little sister here to thank you for sending little sister home." Hearing Lung Xiaoxiao's words, Xiao Changtian understood. So she was here to thank him for sending her back. Previously, the turtle in his house had frightened him, and he had even taken the initiative to thank him. What a good family. Xiao Changtian said slowly to Lung Xiaoxiao, "It's fine. It's what I should do." Then, Xiao Changtian also walked toward the Great Sun Immortal. "It's mainly because of the credit of the Great Sun Immortal. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to send the lady back so quickly. He was just immortal. There was no way to send Lung Mei back to the spirit race so quickly." Lung Xiaoxiao was stunned when she heard Xiao Changshan's words. Then he looked at the Great Sun Immortal. Taoist De Yang also smiled at Lung Xiaoxiao, and then walked to the side with Lung Mei and Lung Xiaoxiao. "Let me tell you, Senior is currently cultivating his heart in the mortal world, playing around in the mortal world. Don't disturb his cultivation. Mortal world tempering the heart. Could this person be a creation immortal?" Hearing the words of the Great Sun Immortal, Lung Mei also exclaimed. The creation immortal was a group of people who stood at the top of the human realm upon heavens. They didn't expect that they would meet him. Yes, little sister, we will also cooperate with Senior's cultivation later." Lung Xiaoxiao didn't doubt the words of the Great Sun Immortal at all. It was very simple. They saw Black Tortoise and the fat Rongrong following Xiao Changtian in. The aura of the Iron Eater and the Black Tortoise could not be faked. In front of the Black Tortoise, Lung Xiaoxiao could clearly feel that her cultivation was suppressed by a lot. Not to mention Xiao Changtian was the owner of the Black Tortoise. After Xiao Changtian entered the courtyard, the flower fairy slowly walked towards him. "Young master, you're back." Xiao Changtian smiled at the flower fairy. Yes, I've already found the address. I've disturbed you recently. I'll go back with Taoist Big Sun later." When the flower fairy heard Xiao Changshan's words, she slowly said to him, "Young master, are you leaving so soon?" Xiao Changtian nodded at the flower fairy. Cui Er saw the sad expression on the flower fairy's face, and slowly walked towards Xiao Changtian. Young master, please leave as soon as possible. Chui'er looked at Lung Xiaoxiao and Lung Mei in the courtyard. Although they had just helped the flower fairy repel the first elder of the flower fairy palace. However, one thing was certain. After Chui'er met Xiao Changtian, they were in trouble. First, Lung Mei came looking for them, and then the family found them. When the flower fairy heard Chui'er's words, she slowly said to Xiao Changtian, "Young master, don't listen to Chui'er's nonsense. Since young master wants to leave, then I will play a song for young master." As she spoke, the flower fairy returned to her room and took out a zither. After Xiao Changtian played on the flower boat that day, she also had some enlightenment. Every day, he would also recall the way Xiao Changtian played the zither. She slowly placed the zither on the table and began to play. Xiao Changtian didn't say anything when he saw the flower fairy's expression. It was not hard to understand why this person, who liked to play the piano, liked to compose songs. At this time, Lung Xiaoxiao and Lung Mei came to Xiao Changshan's side and said to him slowly, "Senior, look at my sister. She won't be in any trouble, right?" After learning about Xiao Changshan's situation, Lung Xiaoxiao also told Xiao Changtian the purpose of her trip. Xiao Changtian frowned when he heard Lung Xiaoxiao's words. Could it be that this girl had been scared sick last time? Following that, he slowly said to Lung Mei, "Give me your hand." When Lung Mei heard Xiao Changshan's words, he was also stunned. Then, under Lung Xiaoxiao's signal, he slowly extended his arm. Xiao Changtian grabbed Lung Mei's arm and placed his fingers on the pulse. Then he slowly said to Lung Mei and Lung Xiaoxiao, "This girl has just been frightened recently. She's fine. I'll give you a bottle of medicinal wine to bring back." Then, Xiao Changtian took out a bottle of medicinal wine from his bamboo basket. Xiao Changtian had carefully selected the herbs in the courtyard to make this. Lung Mei and Lung Xiaoxiao heard Xiao Changshan's words and were delighted. It seemed that the senior had forgiven them. Lung Xiaoxiao also saw a treasure that was hard to come by in 10,000 years. With it, Lung Mei's cultivation would definitely rise rapidly. After this, it would be a great help to their holy war. At this moment, the sound of the flower fairy's zither could be heard in the courtyard. The flower fairy's zither music this time was clearly a little better than when she was on the boat. However, this zither sound was quite suitable for parting. Xiao Changtian felt a sense of sadness from the music. When the flower fairy played, she looked at Xiao Changtian. After Xiao Changtian left, she would also be leaving this small town soon. Since the people from the flower fairy palace had found this place, they would definitely not give up on capturing him. He would have to find another place soon. After the song ended, the flower fairy slowly said to Xiao Changtian, "Young master, have a safe journey." She looked at Xiao Changtian. After Xiao Changtian entered Xiao Changtian, he didn't seem to have a good impression of her as he did on the flower boat. However, the flower fairy could understand. After all, she was a wandering woman. Xiao Changtian was also being hunted by his family every day. On the other hand, the two girls on the other side were powerful and extremely beautiful. If it were him, he would also want those two women. Xiao Changtian looked at the flower fairy and said to her, "Young lady need not be sad. Most of life is about separation. Furthermore, this Xiao's departure is only temporary. We might be neighbors in the future." Hearing Xiao Changshan's words, the flower fairy's eyes lit up. "Will young master return?" Hearing the flower fairy's words, Xiao Changtian nodded at her. Chapter 528. The Situation of Human Realm Upon Heavens, 1 Divine Realm. Flower Fairy's courtyard. Seeing Xiao Changtian nod, the flower fairy remembered what Xiao Changtian had said to her. It seemed like Xiao Changtian had said that he wanted to stay here. Aya, what was she thinking just now? Thinking of this, the flower fairy said to Xiao Changtian, "That little girl is waiting for young master to come back." Then, Xiao Changtian said to Lung Mei and Lung Xiaoxiao, "Ladies, I have something to do, so I won't stay any longer." When Lung Mei and Lung Xiaoxiao heard Xiao Changshan's words, they also nodded slightly at him. Then, under the guidance of the great Sun Immortal, Xiao Changtian slowly left the town. After Xiao Changtian left, Lung Mei and Lung Xiaoxiao also disappeared into thin air. After arriving outside the divine realm, Lung Mei also said excitedly to Lung Xiaoxiao, "Sister, am I all right now?" Hearing Lung Mei's words, Lung Xiaoxiao also looked at her and said helplessly, "After we return, inform the others that no spiritual race member is allowed to invade this place." Update on Biomicron X0VL. Xiomicron M. In addition, we must firmly control the divine realm in the territory of our spiritual race. When Lung Mei heard Lung Xiaoxiao's words, he also said in shock, "Sister, you're little sister. Based on my understanding of that senior just now, this senior is probably setting up a trap in the divine realm." Set up. When Lung Mei heard Lung Xiaoxiao's words, he also looked at him and said with some doubt, "Yes, little sister. Think about it. What kind of cultivation has the human realm upon heavens relied on for so many years? Isn't it just absorbing so much luck from the lower realm? This senior came here and even stopped the heaven's gate from collecting fate in the lower realm. This means that he values the luck of the divine realm very much. It's very likely that he's playing chess with other mighty figures." Hearing Lung Xiaoxiao's words, Lung Mei also had a look as if he had just woken up from a dream. Following that, Lung Xiaoxiao continued to speak to Lung Mei. "I think Senior will let you go this time because he values the potential of our spiritual race. She wants us to become her chess pieces." Seeing Lung Xiaoxiao's grave expression, Lung Mei slowly said to her, "Then sister, isn't our clan in danger?" Hearing Lung Mei's somewhat anxious words, Lung Xiaoxiao also smiled sweetly. He slowly said to her, "Little sister, you worry too much. That senior's strength is clearly much higher than ours. If he's really a mighty figure from beyond the heavens, our spiritual race might have a chance to rise in the future if we follow him." At this moment, Lung Xiaoxiao also looked ambitious. In heavens beyond, the spiritual race was also going to wage a sacred war against an ancient race. The outcome of her battle with the clan leader would determine the fate of the entire spiritual race. Moreover, this holy war would erupt once every few hundred years. If they followed a mighty figure like Xiao Changtian, the spiritual race might be able to escape this ordeal. After Lung Mei heard Lung Xiaoxiao's words, he also nodded slowly at her. It seemed that he had benefited from this disaster. Then, as if he wanted to ask for something, Lung Mei turned to Lung Xiaoxiao and said slowly, "Sister, this is the medicinal wine that Senior gave me. How do you think I should handle it?" Lung Xiaoxiao looked at the medicinal wine in Lung Mei's hands and pondered for a moment. She then slowly said to her, "Little sister, this red wine is priceless to us. It's better not to bring him back to the clan to prevent any accidents from happening." In the spiritual race, there were many spies from other factions. Lung Xiaoxiao was well aware of this, but there was nothing she could do about that was because at the same time, her clan had spies in other factions. It was also because of the spies' ability to hide. With this thought in mind, Lung Mei and Lung Xiaoxiao also took a sip of the medicinal wine given by Xiao Changtian. As soon as the wine entered her stomach, Lung Xiaoxiao felt a pure energy flowing through her stomach and organs. Following that, the aura on his body also rose steadily. At this moment, Lung Mei's voice was slowly transmitted over. "Sister, I broke through." Lung Mei had opened her eyes at some point. She looked at Lung Mei in front of her and said slowly to him. To be honest, in Lung Mei's opinion, her strength could increase so quickly. It was too unbelievable. After all, she had been stuck at the true immortal level for several years and had not made any progress. On the other hand, Lung Xiaoxiao slowly absorbed the energy in her body. She also felt that the aura on her body had reached the peak of the golden immortal realm. He was faintly showing signs of breaking through to the immortal king realm. This gave her even more confidence in her battle against the ancient race. "Senior, how strong is he?" At this moment, Lung Xiaoxiao could not help but say, "In the human realm upon heavens, the cultivation system underwent a new change. In the human realm upon heavens, the spiritual energy that cultivators absorbed was the spiritual energy of the immortals. It was a high-grade spiritual energy that was nurtured by the spiritual energy and providence of the lower realm. The cultivation of immortal cultivators was also divided into human immortals, earth immortals, and heaven immortals. In these three realms, immortal cultivators basically did not have the qualifications to establish a force in the human realm upon heavens. Most of them relied on the other forces to survive. After the celestial immortal were the true immortals, golden immortals, and immortal kings. After becoming a perfected immortal, one would have the qualifications to establish a force in heavens beyond. The sects in heavens beyond were also divided into 3, 6, and 9 grades. For a faction like the spiritual race that had a golden immortal, it was a black. If a force had an immortal king, it would be an earth-level sect. If there was an imperial immortal ancestor in the sect, it would reach the level of a sky-level sect. As for creation immortals, they were legendary existences. It was rumored that they had mastered the aura of the human realm upon heavens and the changes in the world. Even Lung Xiaoxiao and Lung Mei had never seen any creation immortal. However, it was rumored that the creation immortal could already control a divine beast. Therefore, when Lung Xiaoxiao saw Xiao Changtian, she also thought he was a creation immortal. At this moment, Lung Xiaoxiao also slowly said to Lung Mei, "Little sister, we are returning to our clan now." As soon as she finished speaking, Lung Xiaoxiao and Lung Mei turned into a stream of light and flew towards the spiritual race. On the other side, Xiao Changtian slowly arrived on the Tianyuan continent under the lead of Taoist Great Sunday. After returning to Daong Town, Xiao Changtian said to the Great Sun Immortal, "Taoist Big Sun, please help me inform Tian that I found the address." When the Great Sun Immortal heard Xiao Changshan's words, he nodded at him. Then, Xiao Changtian slowly walked towards his own courtyard. After working for a while, he finally got the address. Chapter 529. This system doesn't treat itself as a human. 1. Tianyuan Continent, Xiao Changshan's courtyard. At this moment, in the backyard of Xiao Changshan's courtyard, Tian and Taoist Big Sun slowly stood before Xiao Changtian. Senior, Tian has already arrived. Taoist De Yong brought Tian along as he spoke to Xiao Changtian. Xiao Changtian stared at Tian as he smiled at him. "Tian, I've already chosen the location of your divine court. Let's go over and take a look." Tian felt joy in his heart when he heard Xiao Changshan's words. He said slowly to Xiao Changtian, "Sorry to trouble Senior." During this period of time, he and the 10 great generals of the divine court had also been recuperating. After recovering to his peak, he wanted to find Xiao Changtian. Update on Biomicron X0VL. Siomicron M. They didn't expect that Taoist Master De Yong would come to them directly. Hence, Tian immediately followed Taoist Big Sun to Xiao Changshan's place. "It's not troublesome." At this moment, Xiao Changtian also waved his hand at Tian. It wasn't anything particularly difficult. In addition, he wasn't doing this entirely to help Tian. This was the system's mission. Then, Xiao Changtian slowly said to the Great Sun Immortal, "Perfected De Yong, please take us there." When the Great Sun Immortal heard Xiao Changshan's words, he nodded at him. Then with a wave of his hand, a fiery red blanket appeared in front of Xiao Changtian and the others. "Tian, let's go over and take a look." When Tian heard Xiao Changshan's words, he also nodded his head. After that, under the lead of Taoist Big Sun, Tian and the other two flew towards the 100,000 mountains of the divine realm. Xiao Changtian also wanted to finish this as soon as possible. This way, he could also quickly open his invincible path. Soon, Xiao Changtian and the others slowly arrived at the divine world under the guidance of the Great Sun Immortal. Looking at the 100,000 mountains in front of him, the immortal De Yong also slowly placed the blanket at the entrance of the 100,000 mountains. After getting off the blanket, Xiao Changtian turned to Tian and Taoist De Yong, who were behind him, and spoke slowly, "Come with me." Tian stared at the endless mountain range before him as he sighed in his heart. This 100,000 mountains was a famous forbidden area in the divine realm previously. Only this kind of place was qualified to enter Senior's eyes. He brought Tian, Taoist De Yong and the others through the valley. Xiao Changtian also came to the familiar lake. Xiao Changtian didn't encounter any ferocious beasts along the way. It wasn't that all the demonic beasts in the 100,000 mountains had died, but after Xiao Changshan's massacre here last time, no demonic beast dared to block Xiao Changshan's path. Looking at the lake in front of him, Xiao Changtian said slowly, "Xiao Heil bang! Bang! Bang!" As Xiao Changshan's voice faded, the lake in front of him started to surge. The water on the surface of the lake kept surging. In the end, Xiao He also slowly surfaced from the bottom of the lake. Seeing Blackie, Xiao Changtian waved at him. Although this demon beast had just entered the sect, it seemed to have played well with the old turtle last time. Xiao Changtian also planned to leave it here. Perhaps it could help him intimidate some invaders in the future. Daoist Big Sun and Di Tian stared at the black flood dragon floating on the surface of the water, slowly swimming towards them. They looked at each other and saw some shock in each other's eyes. Although Di Tian's strength had increased greatly, he could still sense that he was not strong enough. This black flood dragon had also reached the peak of Emperor God realm, and was a half-step human immortal. If it wasn't for the supreme kick Xiao Changtian gave him last time, he was probably no match for the black water dragon. He did not expect that Senior would actually bring such a divine beast to this lake, and raise it as a pet. At this moment, Blackie also slowly came to the lakeside. After Xiao Changtian left, Blackie immediately scouted the island. After realizing that he did not lose too many treasures, he heaved a sigh of relief. From the looks of it, only those few spirit bamboos were taken away by the fat Rongrong. The other things were untouched. He didn't expect Xiao Changtian to return so quickly. "Xiao He, bring us there," Xiao Changtian said slowly to the Blackwater dragon. Blackie didn't dare to say anything after hearing Xiao Changshan's words. His body slowly moved, indicating for Di Tian and Xiao Changtian to come up. It was not that he did not want to resist, but he really could not win. Xiao Changtian was already scary enough, and now he brought Di Tian with him. From Di Tian's body, the black flood dragon could also sense a message that was far stronger than its own. Soon, Xiao Changtian and the others arrived at the island under the guidance of the Blackwater dragon. "Di Tian, what do you think of this island? I feel that it's quite suitable to establish the divine court here. And this is Xiao He, a demonic beast that has just entered the sect not long ago. We can communicate more with him in the future." At this moment, Xiao Changtian also started to introduce the place to Di Tian. When Di Tian heard Xiao Changshan's words, he hurriedly nodded his head. Senior's kindness to Di Tian will never forget it. After speaking, Di Tian wanted to kneel down in front of Xiao Changtian. Di Tian had also sensed the entire island earlier. Even the divine court, which was at its peak in the past, wouldn't want to give up on the resources on this island. From the looks of it, they were all treasures produced in the 100,000 mountains. Xiao Changtian hurriedly stopped Di Tian from kneeling when he saw his actions. "Di Tian, you're treating me like an outsider." He was just looking for an address. If he didn't know, he would think that he had given her a villa. Now that he had the address, the construction was a big problem. Di Tian was helped up by Xiao Changtian. The demonic beast smiled at Xiao Changtian. "Thank you, Senior." Di Tian also knew that Xiao Changtian didn't like those formalities. But he was too agitated earlier. He believed that if the divine court was re-established here, it would not be qualified to enter the human realm upon heavens. After Tian Yuan and the others arrived, Di Tian also realized the importance of increasing his strength. At this moment, the system's voice slowly sounded in Xiao Changshan's mind. "Ding dong. The host has completed the site selection mission. Di Tian and Daoist De Yang are extremely satisfied with the location chosen by the host. The following rewards will be given to the host. 9 Heavens Rake. Please check. A new mission is now assigned to the host. Build the main palace on the deserted island." Hearing the system's voice, Xiao Changtian cursed in his heart. "This damn system, I've been so busy for so long." He actually gave himself a 9 Heavens Rake. To put it bluntly, it was just a hoe. He even told him that he would build the main hall next. Wasn't this hinting that he would be a free laborer? This system really didn't treat itself as a human. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.